When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, the funds are low and the debts are high, when you want to smile but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, don't run to us, we don't give a well, yeah, we do. We are two bald guys and a microphone. We'll turn that frown upside down. We'll jumpstart your heart. If you've got a long week ahead, this is the right place to start. Two bald guys and a microphone. Two bald guys and a microphone. Two bald guys and a microphone.
Good morning. You are listening to 101.3 FM WHIWLP out of Harvard, Illinois. Yes, that is Hermelda. Welcome, Hermelda. We're in studio this morning with my partner, the one, the only,
Deke Jones. How is everybody doing this morning? Happy Memorial Day. Unbelievable. Beautiful weather outside here in Northern Illinois. What a great weekend. Just absolutely blessed to be in studio. Live on Facebook, you see that we have a full house here. Of course, if you're counting bald heads from your right to left, it's me. Then there's Rich. He's sitting there. He's the chrome dome you see right next to Coach. Good morning, Rich.
Good morning.
Then we've got, of course, Coach Papa. And then in studio,
Damon K. Ross.
Damon K. Ross. I'm great. Thank you for being here. And then the most beautiful piece of this morning.
and she has hair.
And she has hair. It's not a wig, folks. It is. Our guest, are the lady of the 3 hours.
The 3 hours.
Right.
Sandy Barcus. Good morning, Sandy.
Good morning.
That is awesome to have you here.
Thank you.
You know, we'll be talking a lot about purpose and dedication. Purpose, dedication to a cause. It's going to be a great 3 hours this morning. And of course, via Skype, all the way from Greenville, Texas. Good morning, Ron.
Boy, I had to bite my tongue when you said the most beautiful. Almost chimed right up from Greenville, Texas.
Well, the most beautiful here in studio, of course.
Okay. Well, good.
Right.
Boy, that's kind of like a participation trophy.
That's it. Especially when you're surrounded by, 4 bald heads in the studio this morning. Is we have overachieved on the baldness this week, which is great. Man, what a great week we had, coming out of last week's show where we talked about the 3 Ps, purpose, passion, and productivity, really kind of laying the foundation, and just a fantastic week. How was your week, Damon?
My week was awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What made you...
What made it awesome?
Yeah, this is...
You're on the radio. These questions, you've been here before.
what color is the sky? It's blue. Thank
blue.
you.
Well, it's actually kind of red this morning
was.
coming in. Did you catch the colors?
It was.
It's
It was
beautiful.
nice. What made it awesome?
Just being able to influence lives and be a great support to some of the students at the school, and
That's it. Living your purpose, man.
Yeah.
So awesome, right?
Awesome. Yeah,
that is
absolutely.
exactly it. That's fantastic. Coach, how about you? Had a fantastic week, yeah?
Recovered from that goofy cough I had last week. Those of you who were listening last week, I had
It's
my
not a
finger
cough track.
on the cough button. I took it off to speak. Monday night we went to the... I got a good piece for the Isn't That Interesting file later on, but I went to the immediate care, and eventually by about 10:30 at night, got an antibiotic in my system. By Wednesday, we went to the McHenry golf outing.
Yes.
Very grateful for my first shots on the first hole.
Yeah, oh man, he carried us. It was nice.
Yeah, the other 18, not so much. 17, there's 18 total. Soccer tournament this weekend. My grandson in one game had 5 goals and 3 assists.
That's awesome.
He was on fire. And then we spent the day yesterday at Great America.
Hey, don't you do that every day?
We do.
Isn't America
This
great?
was where we celebrated with a bunch of rides. My daughter and her husband have 6 children together, and it was Bring a Friend Day. So my wife and I, my daughter, her husband, and 12 children.
Ooh.
sounds like fun.
Sandy called
No
me
wonder you're
in
bald.
the middle of the teacup ride, and I said, Sandy, I'd love to talk to you, but we're getting ready to start the ride. I got to put my cell phone away. So, beautiful day, beautiful week.
That is great. And Sandy, how about your week?
It was good. It was good. I spent Friday and Saturday downtown in Chicago for the Chicago Memorial Day events with 2 good friends. and we had quite a fun time experiencing the city of Chicago.
There we go. You got to get close to that microphone.
Sorry.
Beautiful. I don't have my headphones today, so I'm running non.
The sound in the studio is pretty good.
Not too bad.
With the Bluetooth speaker.
I can hear you all, guys. That's great. And Ron, how about your week?
Hey, I had a great week. It started out, of course, with my buddies, the two bald guys. I'll tell you, fantastic trip up there. And one of the highlights was that Volo Museum, to see all those cars and motorcycles and boat motors and more power. Whatever you say. Okay, down at the ranch, got some more shredding done. Had to go buy tractor parts, and I'll tell you, I stepped out and put new blades on Joni's mower, and she's happy.
Oh, there you go. And you know what? We can't thank you enough for doing the chicken soup for Coach there as he was curled up in the fetal position earlier this week.
On Monday, as I was going to take Ron back to the airport. When we got back to my house, it was just like, there's no way. Ron kind of knocked me down on the couch with one finger. He's like, whoosh.
That's it.
And then went to Walmart right across the street and came back with chicken noodle soup and fixed me up. So
That's it.
Thank you, Ron, for everything that you do.
That's it.
Well, thank you guys. It was a great time.
And that was free range Campbell soup. That's it. My week, man, what a blessing, coming out of the weekend and then just a powerful show on Monday. And then, of course, on Thursday, got to celebrate Colette's 8th grade. I don't know if they call them graduations, promotions, whatever they're called.
They're calling them promotions.
Well, that's because we want people to go farther than the 8th grade. So I say it's a graduation in my family. I mean, she's going on to secondary learning. It's good.
Hallmark needs a new card, a new line of cards.
That's right.
Congratulations on your promotion to 9th grade.
Absolutely. And you know what? My folks were in town, and just a true blessing. Just a fun week. Did miss out on a little bit of fun this weekend, heading over to the in-laws' house.
What did you do instead?
Let's see. I did yard work, hung out with the dogs, went on a walk, went to the Adidas Invitational, the tournament that was over at Elgin and Lake Barrington, and had my buddy, and he'll be mentioned on cool people doing cool things, but. People always ask me, Coach, they say, and I coach girls basketball, so people always ask me, what's the difference? I took a picture and posted it out on Facebook of a 7'1" 15-year-old.
Saw that.
I was just like, unbelievable, right? I was watching 15U, there's 6'9" guys, 7-foot guys at 15. Now, when we won state in high school, our center was 6'3", and we thought he was huge, right?
Yeah.
But it was amazing, and this 7'1" kid, oh my gosh, could play, and I mean, get down on defense.
15?
Come on, 15 years old,
Wow.
and left-hander, soft around the rim, but it was just crazy.
Where's he from?
He was on the Indiana elite team, so I don't know exactly which school he's out there in Indiana, but. That junior high was happy to have him, I'm sure. But it's just amazing. And, the funny thing is there's all these big kids, right? And I was telling Coach this. On the 17 UT, there was a kid, he was probably 6'11" or 7 foot as well, size 20 shoe. I could have slept inside his shoe, right? And he looks like this total monster from the shoulders down. And then his face, he literally looks like he's 17, looks like a baby.
Yeah.
You're just like, gosh, it's unbelievable. But kids could play. I mean, it was just so fun. But it was good, too, to be able to be there and support my friend and his team and from Iowa. So, I mean, it was fun. It was a good time. It was very, very good.
Well, Dig, that's exactly why at the Flying Double H Ranch, our beef does not have the bovine growth hormone. They're all natural.
That's it. Rich, how about you on your week?
I knew there was trouble when Tim moved the microphone over here in front of me. Yes, my week's going fine. Started out by meeting Rancher Ron. which was a privilege and an honor.
Now, did his face meet his voice?
He's much prettier.
The silver.
Which way is it to? Never mind.
That's it.
I don't know which way to say it to come out
That's right.
looking good there.
Yeah, well, same way with me and my wife. I just keep digging a hole, Rich.
Did you see that accident in the Indy 500 yesterday?
Oh, unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
And the dude walked away from that, yeah?
Yeah.
Crazy. Literally, very, very. You want to talk about somebody who's grateful this morning that he didn't hit that wall upside down, but I mean, God, there's some angels, and God was involved in that because I'd never seen a crash like that. That was scary.
Something.
That was unbelievable. But and you can't ever. I mean, even if you're not an IndyCar fan, the Indianapolis 500 is still a big to do, right? It's like the Kentucky Derby and.
Yeah, one of my coworkers who's from Indiana, and he goes every year, and he talks about it. So he said it's a blast. He said whether you're a racing fan or not, just one time experiencing that would be something awesome. So
yeah, you have to.
I was down at the Indy one year, and it's a zoo down there. It's like Mardi Gras, and you're stop and go in traffic. So I'm sitting on my motorcycle in traffic, and I see this guy running through traffic, weaving, with two cops chasing him. And the guy's wearing red tights from his feet all the way up to his neck and out to his wrist, and he's got blue underwear on the outside, blue socks over his shoes. He's got a cape on and a Budweiser box on his head. They're chasing him through traffic.
There it is. And then Rich was like, Dad, what are you doing? That is great. Good stuff. Did I get everybody, Sandy? We have Sandy. Our week was good, right? Everybody was good. Oh, I got so many people now. It's here in the studio. It's hard to keep track of. But
we got Phil Nelsarino. Phil's
Phil.
been on, watching and listening to every show. So Phil, we're grateful that you're out there and doing the things that you do. I know I asked you what you're grateful for. I'm waiting for my computer to reboot, oddly enough.
Interesting.
So.
You know what? And what a great show we have. Of course, coming up here in just a sec, we're going to do the attitude of gratitude. We'll reboot your mental software all around purpose, dedication to the cause. And then we'll break for a little station identification at the bottom of the hour. And then at 6:45, we'll roll in Rancher Ron and his East Texas wisdom, which will be great.
Greenville is a place.
Greenville. And then, of course, at 7 o'clock, we pause for the cause. We got a great cause this morning. Sandy will tell us all about that. And then the riddle of the week and Coach's Cadence will pop in there. And then we'll get in and we'll learn a little bit more about Sandy and the Collier House and what she's doing, her purpose, her dedication to a cause, which is absolutely great. And then Isn't That Interesting comes up at 7:45. That's things that make you go, interesting through the week. Then, of course, right at the top of the 8 o'clock hour, you're going to have Deke's Health and Fitness Tips.
Always looking forward to Deke's Health.
That's it. And then do we roll it out now or do we wait?
I think now.
Now. Then an all new
let's wait.
An all new piece to this show. So stick around because at 8:05
let's wait.
We've got a 8:05. We've got anyway, and then
stick around to find out what our new piece is.
You're going to love it for sure. And then of course, in that 8 o'clock hour too, we're just going to do a little deeper dive with Sandy and some of the things that she's doing. And then at 8:40, Caught in the Act, cool stuff done by cool people. And then, of course, we'll wrap things up, set up for next week, and then following us right on our heels is the morning show with Dave, which is a fantastic show. So, with that, gratitude, Coach. What are you grateful for, man?
I'm grateful for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
There it is.
This is such a great country, and unfortunately, there are so many who, in the keeping of the country free, have given the ultimate sacrifice. And I'm so grateful to have been able to be a part of the military for so long. But for each and every one of the members of the United States military who have sacrificed their life to keep us that way, I'm grateful that our country made the decision to have a day like this where we can commemorate them. And just enjoy. So I am noticing a much lower early turnout on the show this morning because everybody has a day off.
Barbecue hangover is what that is, for sure.
But it is going to be a beautiful day.
That's it. Demond, how about you?
I am grateful for opportunities that come my way. I have a good opportunity potentially happening at school. I can't really talk about it on there, but when we go to breakfast, I'll talk to you guys about it. But
there it is.
It's just very grateful to have good people that I'm working with.
That's awesome. Awesome. Sandy, anything you're grateful for this morning?
I have a lot of things that I'm grateful for, mostly my freedom as an American in this great country, and for my family and my friends, and for my kids especially. I really enjoy them, and for my grandchildren.
Oh, beautiful.
I'm very grateful for them.
Sandy, your grandchildren are your reward for not killing your own.
I believe that's true, yes.
I'll tell you what, folks, if for all of our 101.3 FM listeners out there, that voice you're hearing, Sandy Collier, she's been on with Henry Stevens in the past, so it's probably earlier in the day that you've probably heard her, but that voice has been on these airwaves before, which is fantastic, and I'm grateful for that. Ron, gratitude.
Well, I've got two this morning. The first is grateful to Deke's daughter Colette for teaching me that bratwurst is actually bratwurst. The second thing is I'm grateful for my health. When I think of our friend Tom Sellers, who's battling a health issue, one of my closest friends just went in, had aortic heart valve replacement and a triple bypass, and another friend at church who's looking for donors for bone marrow to fight leukemia. I realize each day when I get up how much I take for granted the great health that I've been blessed with. So today, my gratefulness goes for health.
That's it. You know what? I'm very grateful for it being light at 8:30 at night now. I hate when it gets dark at 4:30. So I love that it stays light a lot longer. Those longer days I absolutely love. Rich, any gratitude?
Well, I think I'm, along with what Tim was saying, grateful for the people that have laid their lives down for us in this country. And, that on a day like today, I think a lot of people, that's almost like an intangible. It's hard to see how things would have been or could have been if these people hadn't done what they had done.
So true. And, the cool thing, too, did you guys see that post on Facebook where they etched all those bodies on the beach of Normandy?
Really, the 9,000.
Yeah, really, really cool. Look that up; it's amazing. Absolutely cool. So that just kind of makes it all real life, which is amazing. So absolutely sweet. So with that though being said,
well, wait a second. Phil Mascherino said he's grateful for another day above ground.
There you go, Phil. Better to look at the daisies than to push them up, right? It's time to reboot your mental software with two bald guys and a microphone.
The R in reboot is
Recognize that you need to reboot.
The E is energy. Unplug from that energy, unplug from that phone, reflect on what you need to do, and then plug back in with a new drive. The B,
believe that what you're doing makes sense and is going to move you into the direction that you need. The first O
is operating system. How many of us are operating 2017 technology with a 1955 operating system? Let's upgrade today. The second O is
orchestrate. You are the conductor. You need to orchestrate the change and keep your back to all the naysayers. The T
is test. Know that it's working. Test your numbers and adjust as necessary. You are getting ready to reboot your mental software with
two bald guys and a microphone. Dedication to a purpose, right? Success, like happiness, is the unexpected side effect of one's personal dedication to a cause greater than oneself. That's Viktor Frankl.
Mr. Rogers did not adequately prepare me for the people in my neighborhood. I'm just saying.
That's right. That's right. So you know what? We talked a little bit about it last week, and really purpose as we etched out in our brainstorming that we like to talk about is why are you on this earth? What is the reason that you're on this earth, and are you living your purpose? Are you pushing towards that personal dedication to a cause greater than oneself? And at what point do you realize that you're not and you need to be, right? The first R is that recognize, and I think if you are if you feel that you're stuck in the mud, Coach, if you feel that you're not getting anywhere, you're living a life that is passionless, you're probably not living out the purpose that you're on this earth.
I would have to agree with that, and I want to start taking this and start on the Collier House story a little bit with this, because Collier Barcus was a young man with a purpose, without question. But his early days, he was kind of not so much. He didn't have that purpose. Would that be a fair statement, Sandy?
Yes, he didn't quite have a purpose except for having a good time.
Having a good time.
So for those people who are listening, Collier, Sandy, is your son.
Yes.
Yeah. In the depth the depth chart of the family, where does he? First, second, third, fourth?
He was third out of four.
Third out of four. I'm fourth out of four. So for if you're just tuning in, that Collier is your son. So he felt that his purpose was to have a good
Party.
time.
Purpose was to party.
Hard. Yes, quite hard.
And he eventually wound up at a ranch in Wyoming.
Yes, he did. He when he was 15, he was heavily into drugs and alcohol abuse. And he was on the 16-year plan in high school where he wasn't going to graduate or he was going to just leave. So I took some desperate measures and had him escorted to a working cattle ranch out in Wyoming that had a school for troubled boys.
Very nice. And out of that came a young man.
Oh, an amazing young man, yeah. Collier was lost for quite a few years, and when he went out to rehab, I had asked the directors to let me know when his eyes turned blue again because they were very black. And it took about 6 weeks, and the director called me and said, he does have blue eyes. And I said, I told you he did. So it took about 6 weeks to 8 weeks for him to become drug-free.
And out of that, he found his purpose. He recognized that need to change. I mean, that's why I went here at this point, to recognize the need to change.
Yes.
And the E in reboot is energy, where you have to unplug from everything that's going around you, from your friends, from day-to-day life. You have to unplug and identify what changes you need to make. And during that early stage, those 6-8 weeks, he began to find that. At what point did you talk to him and he said, you know what I need to do?
Actually, I never had that conversation with him.
Okay.
His conversations were with the directors. A very wonderful man named Jerry Schneider. And a lot of his conversations took place with Jerry while they were on horseback exploring the mountains or going elk hunting. So that's where he learned what he needed to do. And when he left the ranch, he had graduated from high school with honors. He had a purpose to get a job, and he had been well trained in doing heavy construction work, being able to load a flatbed and being able to do kind of construction work. And he knew that he needed to get a job and that he needed to stay away from drugs and alcohol.
So yeah, the interesting thing is, folks, as you're out there, they're listen. If you're kind of stuck in that mud, listen to what people are saying. Somebody else might know your purpose in life, right? And a lot of times we turn a deaf ear to that, and then it's that unplugging part. If you take a look at your cell phone, Coach and I always say this: when you get a system upgrade, it's turn, you got to power it off and then restart it, right? in that energy piece, and sometimes that's where clarity comes in, and helps you understand exactly what your purpose is, what the dedication is that you're going to be, living your life for, and and that's part of understanding that. Now, the toughest thing, Ron and Damon, is the belief part. In Reboot is believing just truly that you have rebooted and changed and moved into a new direction. How do you overcome that self-talk, that self, I'm not worthy of that? How do you overcome that belief part?
Well, it's something that has to be a consistent and persistent effort. It's not something that's just going to happen overnight. And I talk to a lot of my students about that, because a lot of our students have very severe low self-esteem. And when I talk to them about, getting different scripts and telling themselves different stories, oftentimes I'll get, oh, I tried that and it didn't work. And it's like, well, if you do it one time,
right,
of course it's not going to work. Or like,
right.
One of the students just this week I was talking to, and, she was saying that, that stuff doesn't work. And I was like, well, are you using it? I said, it's like you going out and buying a grill, but you never ignite it. Well, of course it's not going to cook the meat.
Food's been on there for 3 days.
It's turning color, but
you have to use it. So you can't just have the materials in front of you. You have to read them. You have to be engaged with them. So it takes persistent effort and actually doing the work, and not just thinking about it.
Your input determines your output. And if all the input you're getting is negative, your output is going to be negative.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, it can't be helped.
That's right.
And even people who are absorbing all the negative input and trying to be positive, eventually it wears down on them. They give in and they explode at the most inopportune times.
Yeah. Well, Sandy hit it on the head also, that her son began to recover when he went on horseback rides with a counselor. Mm-hmm. And sometimes a mentor who believes in you will start you on the process of believing in yourself.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. Yes.
Well, that's the other part of belief. It's not just believing that the choices you've made are going to take you down the right path, but you have to surround yourself with people who believe in you.
That's part of the orchestrating, right? And that's so true. I mean, when he made, when he discovered his true purpose, I mean, he shared that with you, and you were probably elated and wanted to share in that joy with him, right?
Yes. I think it's important that for you to know that when Collier went out to rehab, they were unsure that they would be able to deal with him, because he was by far the worst student they had had in history at that time. And they were very hesitant to take on Collier and my family and me with all of our dynamics and all of his drug use. So the fact that he graduated with honors and went on to do great things is a wonderful story for him and the program that he was in.
It's truly amazing what God can do when we slow down to let God do it.
Yeah, and
just amazing.
He spent a lot of time on horseback out in the mountains, and I think between him and his mentor, they really worked out a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Well, and that first O that we started talking about in Reboot is your operating system. Some people, it can be hitting a button depending on the speed of your internet, how quickly the reboot happens. But for other more complex systems, it takes a long time. And it sounds like Collier was a more complex system.
Quite complex, yes.
And the reprogramming took a little bit longer. But once he got that right operating system going, there was no slowing him down.
Well, the program is very structured. As I said, it's a working cattle ranch, and the boys have a very structured. They get up in the morning and they do chores. They're up at like 5 and they start their chores, and then they come in for some breakfast, and then they have homeschool until noon, and then they have lunch, and then they go back out and they work the ranch, and then they come in and they do their homework, and then they go back out and take care of the animals. So because it is a working cattle ranch, even though it sounds very structured, sometimes they have to go up into the mountains and get the cattle and the cows that have strayed away from their calves and put them together. Sometimes a tractor breaks down, so the boys had to learn how to fix the tractor. Sometimes a water hole doesn't work, so they have to learn how to get the water up to the animals. Sometimes an animal gets sick, or the cows are calving and they have to take care of them. So, and there's no schedule for when they calve, so the boys are up and they have to go. And it is Wyoming, so it does have a tough weather system.
Sure.
So the boys were, although they were very structured, they were very busy, and he learned a lot.
That's it. Folks, you're listening to
there
101.3 FM, WHIWLP out of Harvard, Illinois. And we are
Two bald guys
at a
But
microphone.
that may be a record. I think that's the first time we've said that this morning.
It
It was on the recording,
yeah.
but I mean,
No, you said it once.
did we?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It happened so naturally we don't even. Sandy, just to let you know, Ron is on a working cattle ranch in Texas.
Yes.
That's what he does.
Yeah.
And Ron, you've changed a lot of lives. Not necessarily. It's not a on purpose program, but a lot of people come out to the ranch. They don't leave the same.
No, they don't. A lot of them need medical attention.
That's right.
But no, you know, I think for Collier's situation and everything else, a structured program is right what he wanted. And Sandy, let me first say that the courage it took for you
Yeah.
to take that gigantic step in the depths of despair is amazing. I really honor you for that.
Thank you.
You know,
But the Flying Double H, it's more like the approach of Curly in City Slickers when he's riding along with Billy Crystal, and just kind of seeing where the people are, what the need is, and helping them find that one thing in their life that they need at the time that they're out here. And it's amazing how if you just spend time with people away from the hustle and bustle, let them kind of put what's going on in their life to the side a little bit. It's amazing how many inroads you can make just listening and then pointing out to them a different way that it could be.
Well, you just gave me a severe flashback, Ron. When I was in the military at the Officer Candidate School, we had a survival period of time. I think it was 3 days, 4 nights, 3 days, where you had all these soldiers, and they're doing great in the classroom. They're doing, just amazing things all over the place. And then they took us out, and they put us out, and for 4 days, all right, you've got nothing but the land and your partner to deal with. And all of a sudden, you saw some people get really squirrely, really fast. And you saw others really step up to the task and do it. And the one guy, he's like, he's just chilling. He's like, what? I can go 4 days without eating.
Yeah, that would not be me, Rich. I'm just letting you know. And that's the interesting thing about rebooting your mental software, of course, is sometimes you have to totally replace the hard drive. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And
brain transplant.
And Sandy, you had to kind of reboot your mental software to be able to send Collier, to find his.
It was a very
purpose.
difficult decision. I felt deep in my heart that if I didn't do something drastic with my son, get him out of the area, that I'd be getting that dreaded phone call that my son had overdosed.
Yeah, scary.
So it was rather a covert operation. There were only 4 or 5 people who knew what was happening, and in the middle of the night, Collier was escorted from my house, and I was given instructions by the police of what to do, what not to do, and they came up to his bedroom and shined a flashlight in his face and said, "Come on, son, you're coming with us." And he was escorted from his bedroom to Wyoming by some people who believed in him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough thing. We've had several students that needed that same attention, and a lot of our parents didn't have the courage to go through with it, the way you did. So
It's very difficult.
really a wonderful thing. And even the ones that did have the courage, they would go bail their, children out because they
That
didn't
was
like
hard,
it.
too.
And I know it had to be very difficult when your son's calling, crying, saying, "I hate it here. I don't want to do this. Why'd you do this?" And the urge to go and get them. I know it's great, but to know what's best for him
Right.
and to stick
right.
it out. It's just
And actually,
it's
it
great.
was 90 days we weren't supposed to talk to him. That was 3 months.
Wow.
And because they said if he talks to you, he's going to convince you that we're just terrible here,
Yeah.
and that his life is terrible, and that you need to come and get him. And I said, I am not coming to get him. You are 2 days away drive. I said, he is there. And
That's right.
I said, if he needs to talk to me, that's fine. But the initial 90 days, I did not talk to Collier except through letters. He would write me letters. I would talk to the counselors and the directors. And he threatened to run away. And so they
Where are
actually...
you going to go in Wyoming?
Right.
Well, this is the rule at the ranch. You can run away. If you get to Cody, Wyoming, they will give you a bus ticket to go home. It's 25 miles of desert and isolated area. And if you can get to Cody, you can go home. So Collier threatened to run away, but I knew he wouldn't. But a couple times they had to sleep outside of his dorm room because he was going to run away.
And folks, as we're talking about purpose, dedication to the cause, stick around after the 7 o'clock hour because the story absolutely gets better, and it's very, very strong. About a person, dedicated to a purpose.
So as we're moving on to the second O of reboot, this is orchestrate. Orchestrate, and as the conductor of your team, the conductor has the brass and the woodwinds and the percussion, and he has one hand going in rhythm and the other hand he's pointing, and he's just bringing everything in. As we orchestrate our own teams, as we surround ourselves with the people who are going to help us make us successful, we have to be willing to give them a little guidance on what this is what I really need from you or what I expect from you to make this thing work. And as long as we're focused on Collier for this case, he had that team around him. At what point did he take control of his life back, where he became the conductor instead of the percussionist?
It's a good
I would
question.
think while he was at the program, you mean, or
Well,
once he left the program?
At what point did he take control? Did he realize he was in charge of his life and his future?
Collier was taken out to Wyoming on May 3rd. I think it was probably Christmas,
Okay.
maybe January,
Yeah.
after being there for about 6 months, that he finally realized that it was time that he took the bull by the horns, to say, and took care of his life.
And that's a very important part, because as you're making all these decisions, we have a tendency to let other people point the direction for us, and success really happens when we start realizing our own path. And that was Collier's path got really
Well, clarity on purpose, right? And
Right.
and as we talk about dedication, a feeling of a very strong support for or loyalty to someone or something, and that's when you understand that purpose and you know why God put you on this earth, and that's when you take control. That's when you start leading the band, and there comes that moment of clarity in everybody's life that says, this is what I'm supposed to be doing here, and once you have that, it's amazing, and you start seeing things, in high definition at that point, right? And you start seeing things differently, and living with more with more passion, and you start really getting after it. But to your point, Coach, is so many times we go, aha, I've got it. This is my purpose. And then, Damon, we sit back and say, somebody tell me what to do.
I think it's important that after Collier was in rehab, that he was able to believe in his decisions that something's not right. And a particular story I have is he had taken a job at a local stable, and he was very excited. He was going to have his own place to live, and he was going to be working with horses because he had learned to work with horses out on the ranch. And he only lasted at that job maybe a month because he didn't like the way they treated their horses.
Wow.
And he didn't like the way they were training them. And he had enough courage to say, no, this is not right. I learned something different, and I'm going to find a different way to do it. So his ultimate goal was to move out to Wyoming and start his own ranch.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And horses, you know, Ron, you deal with horses, and of course we had Jana Ewing on a few months back, and they're so therapeutic, and horses can really, they read people and understand on a different vibration level.
Mm-hmm.
They're very intuitive as to what's going on in your emotional state,
Just watch
and
Black
they bring comfort.
Yeah, yeah,
When you're with a horse, it's really, especially if you're alone with a horse, if there aren't other people or other animals around, it's just the two of you. It's an incredible bond. You know that you're safe. You know you have someone there who has your best interest at heart.
even though they do have long faces.
Oh goodness.
Somebody else.
Hey, you know, but I've been with some people that are real nightmares.
Hey, there we go.
Stop horsing around, fellas.
Oh, and now the pun party begins. All right, there we go, man. That's that. For those of you who try to keep your cars on the road, we know that you're in tears right now. That is not our purpose.
Or our passion.
Or our passion.
But we are being productive.
But we are.
For those of you that are driving and watching us on Facebook,
That's right, Coach. But there are three simple rules in life, right? One, if you don't go after what you want, you'll never have it.
Mm-hmm.
Two, if you don't ask, the answer will always be no. And three, if you do not step forward, you'll always be in the same place.
Mm-hmm.
Or as Wayne Gretzky said, you'll miss every shot you don't take.
You know, we can discuss that on a different day, because I disagree with that, because you can't miss if you don't take the shot. You just can't score. There's a difference.
And the basketball can score is not the person. So
That's right. There we go. We can get deep into this, right? But then there's testing. You're always, you know, when you have your purpose and you're living your purpose and that dedication to a greater cause, as we talked about earlier, you know, you're always going to be challenged, and you have to test. And are you living the right way? And are you doing the right things? And, you know, how do you get back on track when you're living for that purpose? And perhaps you trip, you stumble.
that was a good question, because everyone stopped to think about an answer.
That's right.
I could give you
Well,
mine.
go.
Yeah, go for it.
It's been a long journey since my son was killed, and dealing with grief is something that is part of my everyday life. And the thing that I have found that helps me continue on is to respect that grief. The first year after Collier was killed, I spent many hours staring at the TV watching movies that I don't remember what they were.
Sure.
But that was my way to deal with my reality. And to this day, if I get to a point where I'm tripping, as you say, and I can't seem to be going forward, I sit back and I relax and I put in a movie and I just veg. And I respect that, because I know that once I get through this time, things will be better on the other side.
Sounds like stop, breathe,
Yeah.
go to your happy place, and ask
Right.
a question. Chemical brain freeze, a guest we had on several weeks ago, Chuck Edmond, talks about that. And what you just talked about is the process that he teaches. When you begin to realize that, you know, whether it's grief, whether it's anxiety, whatever it is, you just stop. Whatever is causing it, you just stop. You take that deep breath.
Yeah.
Go to your happy place. For me, it's always my grandchildren. I mean, nothing it brings more joy than being around them. And then you ask a simple question like, why is the sky blue?
That's it.
And
well, after losing our son, I think what started to turn me around is when I started to realize that the pain that I had could help others.
Mm-hmm.
I started
Definitely.
focusing on others and how it could be benefit, and that creates a purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that
and
was
that's-
one of the reasons we came up with the idea of Collier House, my sister and I, was a way to make something positive out of a tragedy. Collier signed up for the Army on 9/11 because he wanted to make a difference. So my sister and I were out in Wyoming, and we got sidetracked on an entrance to Yellowstone because there was a fire, so we had to take the frontage road. And as we went past this abandoned house next to a river, we looked at each other simultaneously and said, that's what we're going to do. We're going to make Collier House. We're going to make a place where families can come and veg and just be families. And it was, that is how Collier House began, is because we needed to find a purpose. And that was our purpose with our going forward.
Very nice. Do you know what time it is, Kent?
It's that time of the day. Yes. Just real quick though, before we jump into that, Sandy, if people want to know more about Collier House, where can they go to find that?
They can go to our website, www.collierhouse.org.
And that's COLLIER
COLL
house, just like it sounds, .org, which is important. So and good stuff there, of course. And hit the wrong button. That's why it gave me that. I don't know. Yeah. There's the horses.
It is time for
Rancher Ron and his East Texas wisdom.
Green Acres is the place to be. Farm living is the life for me.
Hey, Rancher Ron feeding East Texas wisdom to a hungry herd of Americans. I admit it, I love to learn about leadership, coaching, and character by going to museums and studying military heroes. We're blessed here in Greenville with the Audie Murphy American Cotton Museum. Audie was one of the most decorated military heroes before he began his film career. He was born in Kingston, Texas in 1925, and Kingston is about 3 miles from the ranch. The only reason you know you're in Kingston today is that it is marked by a state of Texas historical marker along Highway 69. But today's program is not about the famous heroes. Today is focused upon honoring the millions of little-known heroes who are the very fabric of our great country and exemplify what purpose and dedication looks like when they're viewed in action. Our first story is about Private Treptow. Martin August Treptow was a barber from Cherokee, Iowa. Enlisting in the National Guard during World War I, his unit was called up and Treptow found himself in the 168th Infantry, part of the 42nd Division. It was called the Rainbow Division by Major Douglas MacArthur, who would rise during the war to eventually command the division. Because it was consistent of the National Guard units that stretched all across the country, it was called the Rainbow Division. June 30th, 1918 was a hard day for the division. Participated in the Second Battle of the Marne, which stopped at the last major German offensive of the war and saved Paris from capture. The division was attempting to take Hill 212 on Le Croix Rouge Farm and incurring heavy casualties. A message from Treptow's unit needed to be taken to another platoon. Private Treptow did not hesitate, but grabbed the message and ran off with it. As he neared the platoon leader to deliver the message, Treptow was cut down by a burst of German fire. He was 25 years old. As his personal effects were being gathered up, his handwritten note was found on the flyleaf of the diary he kept. America must win this war. I will work, I will save, I will sacrifice, I will endure. I will fight cheerfully and do my utmost, as if the issue of the whole struggle depended upon me alone. Do you live life as if the success of the entire mission depends on you? I found out about our second unsung hero quite by accident. Last year I had the opportunity of meeting Dave Austin from California through the introduction of a mutual acquaintance. Dave was in Dallas to make a presentation to those who have been awarded the Medal of Honor. The Medal of Honor is the United States of America's highest and most prestigious personal military decoration that is awarded to recognize U.S. military service members who distinguish themselves by acts of valor, The medal is normally awarded by the President of the United States in the name of the U.S. Congress. It is the oldest continuously issued combat decoration of the United States Armed Forces. During lunch with Dave and his wife in the lobby of the hotel, he shared the story of his father, Reverend Hank Austin, captain of the U.S. Navy. Hank was a Navy chaplain attached to the Marine Corps and was with the Marines when they landed on Iwo Jima during World War II. He was a field chaplain who went in with those who were doing the fighting. Hank had a white cross painted on his helmet that made him a target much like the corpsmen with the red cross on their helmets. These markings made them perfect targets for Japanese snipers. Chaplains did not carry a weapon with them. They did carry the items used to give last rites. They would carry both Protestant and Catholic items and check dog tags to see what religious the fallen Marine was. Many field chaplains were awarded medals for the heroics they performed in the face of battle. Hank was no different. He was awarded a Silver Star and 3 Bronze Stars during the battle. He was never wounded except for what he had to live with for the rest of his life. Many soldiers would confess Christ during the battles, therefore saying there are no atheists in foxholes. Field chaplains would hold a short service for the men before they would go into battle. Hank would even hold a service during a battle with the wounded who could not fight. Hank was a one-of-a-kind man. When Dave shares next, with great emotion, is his father was in the first picture of the raising of the flag at Iwo Jima. His dad was on a ridge with those men, praying for the soldiers as they were raising the flag. For you see, there were 2 photographs of that famous event. The first was by Staff Sergeant Lowry for Leatherneck magazine. However, the second and more iconic photo was taken during a ceremonial picture with a larger flag shortly after. Very few know of Dave's dad's role and dedication to those who he served with the fulfillment of a greater purpose. Because of Dave's dad's heroism and dedication to cause, Dave now coaches people to be bold, to release the beast within them, whether in sports, business, or life's challenges. Dedication has a ripple effect. It transforms millions of lives, even if the original act is only focused on a few. What marks these men is a special courage. Courage that becomes stronger when there is a purpose and a mission behind it. The determination, dedication, and backbone, those who understand the good of others, overshadows the interests of self. These men understood they had both the power and duty to make a difference in the lives and the lives of others. Our friend Chuck Inman posted a short tribute to his dad on Facebook yesterday. Spoke about how his father's service during the Korean conflict changed his life. His dad volunteered to become an underwater demolition expert because it paid $15 a month more, and he could send the extra money back home because he was planning on marrying Chuck's mom after his second tour. He later went on to join the 100-member West Coast group called the Frogmen, who became the precursor to the Navy SEALs. Chuck says his dad's advice to he and his brother and sister was to never ring the bell. Never give up, no matter what the adversity. This Memorial Day, the Flying Double H Ranch is proudly flying the American flag to honor the dedication, sacrifice, and spirit of this country's great unsung heroes. For this is Rancher Ron feeding East Texas wisdom to a hungry herd of Americans.
You know, that's Memorial Day is one of those days that, you know, you said it earlier, Happy Memorial Day, but Memorial Day is one of those days. It does have a somber overtone to it, although it is the day that kicks off summer. Memorial Day is an American holiday observed on the last Monday of May, honoring the men and women who died while serving in the United States military. Originally known as Decoration Day, it originated in the years following the Civil War and became an official federal holiday in 1971. Many Americans observe Memorial Day by visiting cemeteries or memorials, holding family gatherings, and participating in parades. Unofficially, it marks the beginning of the summer season. This morning, on Memorial Day, Monday, I normally go to the Johnsburg Memorial Day celebration, commemoration. It is it's one of the best in the area, but every community has some form of memorial service. So get up, bring your radio with it and play it loud so everybody can hear. Two bald guys and a microphone. But get out there and just say, thank you to the families who are there, whose loved ones have paid the ultimate sacrifice.
That is beautiful. And Ron, well done as always. Your perspective on things always catch me off guard. Just amazing, and very grateful for that. At 6:55 on Monday morning, Memorial Day. Here's the riddle for the week. Right? If someone robbed you in the shower, what would you be? If someone robbed you in the shower, what would you be?
Can I answer?
Right? No.
In the shower.
No, affiliates of the program are not eligible participants in the prizes and the answer.
That's right. Thank you for reading the disclaimer. I appreciate that.
Well, that's like the first annual songwriting contest for WHIW.
Yes.
Affiliates can't participate.
Right.
My one chance to break through with all of my songs and
break out in song.
and I can't do
right?
it.
So if
Hey,
someone...
Coach, did you ever think that maybe that rule was because of you?
Oh, man.
Hey,
Well, that's, I'm facing right now my soccer club, my soccer team, high school team in Wilmot, Wisconsin. We face teams that have 60 to 80% of their players with club experience, and we had 4 out of 56 girls with club experience. So I'm trying to bring a club to town. But the Wisconsin Interscholastic Athletic Association says if you are their high school coach, you cannot be their club coach.
Yeah.
So it's like, why? Where did this rule come from, and what's the purpose?
I think they feel like you have an advantage by working with the
Okay.
the
I'm
kids
going
all
to show
year
more
round.
dedication, commitment, and service to the kids.
Well, yeah, but
I
it's
know.
like in basketball,
Same.
at least in Missouri, you can't have more than 3. I think you can't have more than 3 players from the same high school.
That's right.
On the
a
court.
club team.
Yeah, on the floor at the same time.
Right.
So it's a competitive advantage thing, but I don't necessarily get it. But that's what
From
it's
Missouri. Right.
for. Yeah.
Well, apparently Tiger Woods' wife had club experience looking at the photos of the car.
Hey. Wow. We're reaching deep back in the pockets for that one. Right?
Poor Tiger.
That's it. So, Riddle, go ahead and comment on our Facebook page.
And what will they win, Kent?
The riddle of the week is, if someone robbed you in the shower, what would you be?
Jerry Carl says cleaned out.
Close, but no. Close, but no cigar.
Let's try Jerry.
Which is great. And speaking of WHIW, we just this radio station is a 501c3, folks. We are looking for members. Go to the
Can
page.
I clarify a point here?
Yeah.
It drives me nuts. I hear a lot of people say, yeah, we're a 501c or we're a 503c4. 501c3 is a tax code,
Right.
paragraph, subparagraph. Paragraph 501, subparagraph C, subparagraph 3, 501c3.
Yep.
There's a lot of different 501 nonprofits. A 501c3 is special because it is a tax benefit. So when you donate to a 501c3, you get a special
tax benefit. Right? No, well, we're not.
So when you donate to WHIW,
Right, become a member,
you get a special tax benefit.
That is beautiful. And you can donate right at www.whiwharvard.com. .com. Right on the main page, there's a spot for you. It is optimized for mobile use as well on your phone. So as you're hanging out by the grill today, go to www.hiw.harvard.com and you can absolutely put in become a member for as little as $35 a year. Or if you want to, sponsor a show like our sponsor, Northern Illinois Windows, we can NIW, right? And we'll talk about them here in a second.
Yeah, we will. As soon as the Arrakis, did he get loaded on Arrakis?
It's not.
We'll talk about him in a second.
Right.
So moving on.
And but here at WHIW we have such good shows. Of course, every Monday morning you've got two bald guys and a microphone. And then Dave in the Morning Show with Dave Gardner, Monday through Friday, 9 to 10 a.m. Join Dave and his wacky morning crew as he brings a smile with local news, weather, interviews, music, and a whole lot more to the airwaves. And then this is one of the funnest things about this station is WHIW need more cowbell. Where's my cowbell? Need more cowbell Monday through Sunday from 4 to 5 p.m. You're going to spend an hour with us every day as we play your favorite cowbell songs. Jukebox Heroes with Dana Knight, Tuesdays 6 to 7 p.m. and replayed Saturdays at 6 p.m. Listen to all the top hits of the 70s, 80s, 90s, and today with Dana Knight. Dana will take you down memory lane and help you create a few new memories as well, Coach, which is amazing. And then, on a roll with Jay Schultz, Wednesdays from 1 to 3 each week. Jay interviews community leaders, addresses topics and interest, and plays your favorite music. Coach, where can they find that at?
They can find that at 101.3 FM WHIWLP. That means low power out of Harvard, Illinois.
That's it. And then the Best of Broadway with Henry Stevens, the second and fourth Wednesdays of every month from 6 to 8 p.m. Henry will play a wide variety of music from classic Broadway musicals to current shows playing on Broadway today. And then speaking of nature, with Lisa Hatterline, the third Thursday of every month from 6 to 7. Lisa is the executive director of the McHenry County Land Conservancy. On this show, Lisa and her guests will discuss how nature affects our daily lives. And then, of course, the main course with Chef Andy, second and fourth Thursday of every month from 7 to 8 p.m. Great show. It's all about things food, from cordon bleu to lunchroom mystery meat. Chef will also be talking about the history of food, discussing how to plan for special events, sharing recipes, and a whole lot more. These are just a few of the shows here on WHIW.
We are two bald guys and a microphone.
Maybe.
Maybe.
A little technical difficulty. But
mystery meat's a menu item down here in Greenville.
That's it. All right, Coach.
Services is available at area code 815-385-6646 or on the internet at www.niwservice.com. Always and a microphone is made possible by the financial support of NIW Services located in
There it is.
We'll
get it right. Right? Just a great company. And we thank them for their financial support as well.
And for employing my son.
There you go. Now, we're going to pause for the cause. And, of course, today's cause, folks, is the Collier House. The Collier House opened its doors on July 8th, 2011 to commemorate the 7th anniversary of the death of U.S. Army. What is it? SPC? Specialist, thank you. Collier Barcus. Collier House is providing free short-term lodging for families of young adults in recovery, Gold Star families who have lost a loved one during the active service to our country, and the family and friends of Collier Barcus. And we have Sandy here. Sandy, you are the genius behind Collier House.
Well, actually, it's me and my sister and my board of directors.
Nice.
Not just me.
Nice. And then, Rich, if you could hold up to the camera, the flyer there, so they can see a little bit of the Collier House. We got it's an amazing thing that you're doing, and absolutely, really cool.
Thank you.
And
do you have any fundraisers coming up?
November 4th, we have our spaghetti dinner.
Well, those crickets usually mean that there was dead air, but Coach, she was actually talking. So November 4th, the
November
spaghetti
4th
dinner.
at the McHenry VFW is our annual spaghetti dinner.
Awesome. Awesome.
And if you like spaghetti, you should be there.
Yeah,
Yes.
If you like the purpose behind the Collier House, you should be there.
right. And
If you like anything else, you should be there. You should
Yeah.
just be there.
yeah, and you can learn all about it at www.collierhouse.org. Or you can write to the Collier House, and yourself, Sandy, you're the president at P.O. Box 957622, Hoffman Estates, Illinois 60195. Right,
Yes.
a great cause, doing so many good things for for the community, doing so many good things for the fallen and the families of the fallen who had the ultimate commitment to dedication, and for that I thank you so much for stepping up.
Thank
which
you.
is great. So, Coach's cadence time.
Kelly Strong. Kelly Strong was a high school junior when his father was coming home from Vietnam. He went on to a very, very successful career with the Coast Guard, and he wrote this as a young man, and I think it fits the day. Freedom is not free. I watched the flag pass by one day. It fluttered in the breeze. A young Marine saluted it, and then he stood at ease. I looked at him in uniform, so young, so tall, so proud, with haircut square and eyes alert. He'd stand out in any crowd. I thought, how many men like him have fallen through the years? How many died on foreign soil? How many mothers' tears? How many pilots' planes shot down? How many foxholes were soldiers' graves? No, freedom is not free. I heard the sound of taps one night when everything was still. I listened to the bugler play and felt a sudden chill. I wondered just how many times that taps had meant amen when a flag had draped a coffin of a brother or a friend. I thought of all the children, of the mothers and the wives, of the fathers, sons, and husbands with interrupted lives. I thought about a graveyard at the bottom of the sea, of unmarked graves in Arlington. No, freedom is not free. Several years ago, I saw this poem published in the Northwest Herald under a different title with a different author, but exactly the same words. The first thing I did was take a copy of the original and sent it to the Northwest Herald and say, hey, somebody needs to do their homework on submissions. And then the second thing I did is I sent that entire communication to Kelly, and from that, Kelly and I have become friends. Facebook, LinkedIn. We've never met in person, but he's an amazing man.
That's awesome.
So,
Yeah, that's incredible. That is incredible. Folks, you've got
two bald guys and a microphone, and you can find us at twobaldguysandamicrophone.com. Spell everything out but the dot. TWOBALDGUYSANDAMICROPHONE.com.
And while we're throwing some senseless plugs out there, Rancher Ron.
Shameless, not senseless.
Shameless, I don't know what it is.
His tongue got wrapped around his eye tooth. He couldn't see what he was saying.
And Rancher Ron, they can find all about Rancher Ron where?
That'd be at thegreaterjourney.com or ididnotplanthat.com.
And Damon K. Ross.
Go to DemonKRoss.com or on any social media site, Demon K. Ross.
And Rich Publicity.
Whoa, don't watch out.
It is dangerous.
That's why they call it a boom.
That's why they call it a boom.
At richpublicity.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Rich has left the building, which is great. So in the first hour, folks, and we're talking all about dedication to a cause. We're talking about living your purpose. In the first hour, in our reboot section, you found out a little bit about Collier and his backstory, right? And how a young man found his purpose. And then he decided that his purpose, that the greater cause was to defend America.
Mm-hmm.
And he went into the Army.
Right,
Yes.
on 9/11.
On
On
9/11.
9/11.
On 9/11, yes, he came home at midnight. and said, "Guess what I did this morning?" I said, "I have no idea."
Yeah,
He said, "I joined up for the Army." I
amazing.
said, "Really?" He said, "I said, why?" And he said, "Because I want to make a difference."
Yeah. And so motivated by the events of 9/11, Collier
Yes.
joined the Army and was subsequently stationed as part of the peacekeeping force in Iraq.
Smara, Iraq, yes.
Yeah. And then as it is Memorial Day, that's why we've got Sandy in here. On July 8th, 2004, he was tragically killed.
Yes,
Right.
it was a mortar attack and a truck bomb at his barracks.
Wow, right at the barracks.
Yeah.
And then the interesting, I don't know if it's interesting, but as a father, going through what you went through to get him out to Wyoming and save him that way, and then for him to dedicate his life for our freedom and the United States, the ultimate sacrifice. That takes my breath away, and I can't. I mean, as a parent, I can't imagine. I've got a son in the Navy right now, it chokes me up thinking about that, and it's tough. So, as you grab that, most people would probably fall back into a real big, deep depression, but you took that and made it something positive.
Well, I think that comes from trying to make something positive about the tragedy and a purpose to his life that I can deal with.
Yeah.
It also comes from a statement that someone said to me very early on in my grief, that it doesn't get any better. And I remember looking at my sister saying, "If it doesn't get any better, I don't want to be here."
Sure.
And I
My
said,
goodness.
"I have to make this better. There has to be a way to make this better." So
Yeah.
the two of us were out traveling in Wyoming, and that's how we came upon Collier House, because we wanted to do something to return something positive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how Collier House became what it is.
Yeah.
And so we just started from there, and with the help of our friends in Wyoming and lots of people, we developed Collier House, and people who knew Collier were involved in the program, and the gentleman who designed Collier House and constructed it had been with Collier as a counselor at the program, so he knew what the boys would need when they would come to the house and what the families would need. So we had a lot of people who knew the struggles that Collier went through to help us develop the house.
Yeah.
Now, I met you right about that time when it was first coming on board. You came, with the McHenry Chamber, and you came in. And I just remember your passion, in the very beginning. You were on fire to make this thing work.
Yes, it's been fun.
Yeah.
How many
journey.
How many families have gone through Collier House?
I think we're over 100
Nice.
since
That
we
is
started. We've been really dedicated to Gold Star families in the past year, and we're up to 12 Gold Star families have been
Could you
through.
define that, a gold star?
A Gold Star family is a family who has lost someone during active duty to the military, whether it was in combat or an accident or an illness. There's a Purple Gold Star, which is for families who have lost someone in combat, and then there's the Gold Star, which is someone who has lost someone during active duty to our military.
It's a lot different than the gold stars I tried to get in elementary school.
Look, you spelled your name right. Let's give kids a gold star.
That's right.
I'm gonna cheat on Coach's cadence and bring another one out here. On September 10th, 2002, the day before the first anniversary of 9/11, one of my clients that's in the financial industry at that time came to me and said, "Would you read a poem at a 9/11 ceremony tomorrow?" And I said, "Sure, I'd love to. Could you get me a copy of it so I can practice?" She says, "Well, I haven't found it yet." I says, "Okay, what are you looking for? I'll help you find it." She says, "I want something that says America's at its best when things are at their worst." And it just hit me. I said, "Can I call you back?" And she said, "Sure." I called her back in about a half hour. I read this to her. And she said, "Where'd you find that?" I said, "I just wrote it." And it says, the king was overtaxing his subjects far away. Things were really getting ugly until that fateful day when the colonist dressed as Indians descended upon the ships and tossed the tea into the sea as a cry rose from their lips. You can no longer overtax us. We have no more to give. So take your laws and leave our land. We choose to govern where we live. Things had gotten bad before, but this time was a first that saw America at its best when things were at their worst. And it started a tradition, a way of life, so to say, that has affected all Americans from then until today. Every time we get complacent and start bickering among ourselves, someone comes and tries to break us to cast our paradise into hell. But every time they do it, they find out like the rest. It's when things are at their worst that America is at its best. Now, this latest interruption that is known as 9/11, as they toppled the Twin Towers and sent thousands into heaven, is just one more reminder to those beyond our shore that we can be your greatest friend, or you can be no more. So take this as a warning. Those who would put us to the test, if you want to try to break us, you will find America and Americans at their best. And Sandy, I think you and what you've done is the center of this poem, because you could have let this break you,
Yeah.
or you could say, you know what,
Yep.
Collier had a greater purpose here, and as a mother, we know how mothers are, especially when we coach. You know, you wanted to make sure that your son's lasting legacy was more than just he died, you know, in his barracks.
Well, I think it's important that as a mom that I make sure that Collier is not forgotten.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time when you know, our politicians say things like, you know, Iraq was a mistake, the war was a mistake, we apologize. And I just want to go up to them and say, there is no apology you can give me
Right.
Yeah.
for your mistake. But
Yeah.
this is what I want to do for my son,
Yeah.
is make sure that other Gold Star families and have a place to stay. We don't have TV and we don't have radio at Collier House. And the reason for that is it's so peaceful and quiet. I think it's important for the families to get back to themselves and who they are, and not have to hear statements like that, and not have to hear of all the bad things that are going on. So it is designed for respite for the families to be quiet and get back to themselves and to get centered as a family.
That's huge. And you know, the interesting thing is I look at this story and I find so much inspiration. Is that there was one point in this young man's life where, I mean, the enemy, I mean, it was so dark. There was nothing for him. I mean, it was you know,
He was his own worst enemy.
yeah, and he had no idea exactly what his cause was, and his cause continues to live on now. You know, and to me that's so inspirational that when you have you know, a cause that's greater than yourself, you know, and little did he know that this cause would be touching so many lives,
Right.
over 100 families' lives thus far, through your hard work as well, Sandy. And to me, that gives me goosebumps. And how cool is that you know, his cause doesn't stop.
I think it's important that, you know, that statement he made to me on 9/11, I want to make a difference.
Yeah.
That we continue to honor that. And he does make a difference by the families that come through and get some respite and have a moment to take a breath.
Yeah, on a day-to-day basis, and in a place which meant so much to him, and that he loved, and man, to me it gives me goosebumps because that's what your purpose in life is, right? Your purpose has to be bigger than just yourself. It's a cause that's out there. You know, Damon, you kind of live the cause too, by helping so many people who struggle and bringing the, you know, always believe in you, you know, to the table. And you know, how cool is that I mean, Collier is still, you know, his cause is still affecting so many people.
Oh, it's just great. And, you know, even when you go back to the backstory, I think that's what makes it even sweeter that it wasn't just someone who had an easy path and made I think this would be a great idea. But this is someone who came from pretty dark place and found a purpose through all of the difficulties, and went on to do something great. And to see his legacy live on is an amazing thing, and it's really awesome. And I was going to ask you, have you, in addition to doing this, do you do anything where you work with other parents on the other side, where you can kind of talk to them and help them, not become so negative or so or have such a feeling of loss when their kids are struggling, to where you can say, hey, I experienced this with my son, and
I have
things
been
get better.
contacted over the years by parents who come to that wall of, what do I do with my son? What can I do with my son? Someone told me that you did this with your son. And I have talked to many parents about the belief in that what I did for my son was the best thing for him.
Yeah.
And even though it's the hard decision, it wasn't easy. You have to mortgage your house. You have to send your son away, and but it's something that in the end pays off. When my son got off the train from Wyoming, he was a totally different young man. He was tall and his eyes were blue and he was smiling. It's like, wow, what a difference 12 months makes.
Good.
It is. That is amazing.
Well, the other point of that is we always get kind of hung up in numbers, and when we say, 100 families have been there, but Sandy, the effect of this house is not just those 100 families; it's every family and person that those people come in contact with the rest of their lives.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So you've affected thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people just through this ministry of yours.
We've had some very nice letters from families who have stayed at the house. The Gold Star families feel the respite and the quiet and the peace and quiet. And the families of the young men who are in rehab at the time, they always make a statement how they're able to see the changes in their sons when they come and they visit, because they can only come every 3 months to visit their boys. I shouldn't say boys, they're young men.
Yeah.
Sure.
And they come in and they're just amazed by the changes and the changes in the thought processes and how they think about things and how the young men approach problems. And they're always thankful that they have that quiet time at the house without any distractions to be able to get know their sons again.
Yeah.
Unplugged.
Yeah, the Collier House, folks, is a 2-bedroom cabin built on a windswept hill overlooking the Clarks Fork River. It's approximately 25 miles north of Cody, Wyoming. This peaceful, quiet cabin overlooking the mountains will help guests to reminisce and reflect and heal. I'm going to tell you what, if you go to collierhouse.org, there is a picture, a view from the upper deck of the Collier House. I'll tell you, it takes my breath away just seeing the picture. I can only imagine what it would be there.
Well, when you were talking earlier about what they were doing on the ranch, I grew up on a farm in western Nebraska. Mm-hmm. I actually have relatives in Cody, Wyoming. So it was like, take the homework out of it, and you just told about my day every day, my whole life. My grandson he's 11, and he's at that job. He's like, Dad or Papa, he says, when was your first job? I said, well, I think either 4.5 or 5, and I was to get the eggs. That was, my first job, and then milk the cows, and then, get the pigs, and I had a job from basically the time I was born, and it made a difference in my life, and seeing, our agricultural community dying off the way it is to big business and big corporations. The small ranch, the small farm was the heart of America, and that's why I love going down to Rancher Ron's place, the Flying Double H Ranch down in Greenville, because that day it's just always amazing when we're in Texas. The feeling, just being back in nature.
I think about some of the things that Collier did while he was on the ranch, and when I go to visit out on the ranch, I stay at Collier House, but I visit my friends who run the ranch, and sometimes I don't get to see them because they're really busy. They're moving cattle or something. And the thing that impressed me is I was there one year on Columbus Day weekend, and I know that across the nation a lot of schools don't have school on Monday for Columbus Day to honor it. And that particular day I was invited to go up the mountain and help them drive the cattle down to the...
And there's no steering wheel involved in driving cattle?
That's right. That's it.
No. No. And they were up at 4 o'clock in the morning getting ready to move the cattle down because they had to drive up, get the cattle, and drive them down. And all the kids were involved in this cattle drive of the families that were there. They were all up at 4 o'clock on the day off where they're not supposed to be at school, and they were working, and they finished driving the cattle down to the ranch at 10 o'clock at night.
Wow. Yeah.
And I just thought, what an amazing work ethic these children are learning, that and caring for another animal and being able to be up all day long and work as a group and problem solve and get those, a couple of the calves got away and get them down the mountain. It was just very, very impressive.
When I was 17, one of the roles I had, especially during the summer, is the grass is green and lush. The milk cows don't want to come in. The milking time, you have to go up and get them. Well, I bought a Kawasaki that my dad absolutely despised, his motorcycle. And I was like, well, I'm going to show him how good this motorcycle is, how quickly I can get the cows in. So I got on the Kawasaki and I headed up and I got, on the south side of the cows to drive them north into the corral and so we could milk them and just kind of got it. And those cows, man, they got to the corral faster than ever before. Scared to death, they wouldn't give a drop of milk.
Yeah, that's one of the things I had to learn down here at the ranch. The fastest way to move cattle is slowly.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
They move at their own pace.
I've been moving cattle all my life then. I don't move fast at all. It's very slowly. Coach, anybody get the riddle of the week out there? If someone robbed you in the shower, what would you be? Anyone? Nothing?
Jerry Carl was the closest with cleaned out.
Yeah, close, but no cigar, as they say, right? But yeah, you know what we're doing today, folks, is we're talking about dedication to a cause, your purpose. Don't aim at success. The more you aim at it and make it a target, the more you are going to miss it. For success, like happiness, cannot be pursued. If it must ensue, and it only does so as the unintended side effect of one's personal dedication to a cause greater than oneself. So if you're looking for your purpose, look outside of yourself. That's probably where you're going to find it, because it's got to be something greater than yourself, which is amazing. And in studio, we've got Sandy. Sandy, and you are the president of the Collier House, yes?
Yes, I am. I'm the president of the board.
Beautiful. And if they want more information about the Collier House, where can they go to find that information?
They can go to our website, www.collierhouse.org, or they can contact me at collierhouse@live.com.
Nice. And just a great organization doing great things where hearts come to heal. It is amazing, and it is really cool. We're blessed to have you here this morning on Memorial Day, and sharing your story and sharing a bit of Collier with us as well. It just, to me, words are hard to express just the gratitude that I have for what you're doing and your son and his ultimate sacrifice and commitment to his purpose. And that's, to me, amazing.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you made a comment about, don't aim for your success.
Yeah.
And I have learned that the hard way in developing Collier House and what we provide to our families. I always seem to be a driven person to have goals and certain things I want to get done by a certain time. And I have learned through all this that if I just sit back and let God take his course,
yeah,
life happens, and the things that we need for Collier House will happen.
And that's so amazing, right? Demond and I grew up playing basketball, played in college. And how many times the coach is like, man, you're trying to force the game.
Exactly.
Yeah, often.
Right?
Yeah.
And when you're trying to force the game, it just never works out. But when you let the game happen, it's usually when you had your best game too. And that's
I was in Chicago this past weekend for the Chicago Memorial Day events. And we were very lucky to be able to pass out our Gold Star family invitations. And these are invitations to Gold Star families specifically to come out to Collier House and enjoy what we offer. And we handed out 30 invitations, and by the time I got home on Saturday, I already had one family call and asked if they could get more information
Isn't that
to
amazing?
come out to Collier House.
That is way
Now,
cool.
when someone comes out, are they sponsored? Is there a cost to them?
There is no cost for them to stay at Collier House. It's
And-
totally free, and it is totally stocked with dry goods like rice and pasta and sauce and coffee and tea.
Cool.
They have to bring any perishables and take any perishables out that they bring.
So then the next question I have is, what's your annual operating budget? What are you looking for when you're out there fundraising? And
Well, we have several different projects that we need to work on. One is Collier House does not have a well. We have a cistern system, so we get water trekked in once a month, depending on how busy we are, from Cody. And we would like to have a well dug with a local rancher who's willing to split the cost with us. So that's one of our major projects, and that's about $50,000. The other operating costs we have are things like we've entered into a space sharing agreement with the owner of the house, and we don't have to pay rent, but we did have to pay $1 just to make a legal transaction to be able to.
I got that dollar covered right here.
There you go. There you go.
So we do need money for that, and our ultimate goal is that we would find someone who would buy the house and the property for Collier House, and then we would turn it into a trust for perpetuity.
Oh, it's a great idea. Folks, you're listening to
Two Bald Guys and a Microphone.
right here at 101.3 FM WHIWLP out of Harvard, Illinois. And we are blessed on this Memorial Day.
Blessed.
Very, very grateful to have Sandy in the house. And it's Barcus, Barcus. Barcus. And just an amazing, she's the president of the Collier House, which is just doing great things for our Gold Star families, families with young adults in recovery. Amazing, all in honor of Collier's commitment to make a difference, after 9/11. Just amazing. And way cool. And I can't thank you enough again for coming and sharing and,
Thank you.
being a part of the show. I couldn't think of a better way to have a Memorial Day show than with the mother, Gold Star mother. And that
I
is,
appreciate you inviting me here.
Oh, well, you're here, and she brought good aroma as I smell baked goods behind your coach.
Yes.
It's good.
And
So
you're taking those out with you too, correct?
No,
Yeah.
you guys are keeping them. I don't take leftovers.
Ooh.
They are very good baked goods from Swiss Made Bakery in Harvard.
whew, yes.
Well-
Usually it smells like two bald guys and a microphone in
A
here.
couple of coaches in here. Well, that's why you get in my car, and I'm constantly coaching, and the stuff is
Oh, yeah.
wet, and my wife notices that odor right away. And to us, it's like living on the farm growing up, the odor of
It's a
pig
smell of
manure, money, right?
That's right.
And so I don't notice it. And she gets in the car, and she's like, "What smells?" And I'm like, "What?"
Must be me.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of her, I loved you first on the radio, dear. You should be up and listening by now. And I can't believe you haven't sent me a message.
She
at
probably
this point.
has, and you missed it. That was those
No,
crickets,
no,
right?
that was Darren
The,
Hardy. That was my daily.
Here's the best. Speaking of coaches, Coach Papa Mobile out there. It's when Ron was in town, we took a trip up, as Ron would say, to the Brat House up there in Kenosha, and
There's a brat stop.
Brat stop. That's it. Brat stop. Brat stop. Right.
The Brad stops
And
here.
here's the best thing is, I let Coach is driving because at that point my car had no brakes, and so we're like, okay, Coach is going, he's going to drive. So Ron, we'll let the Texas get up front and ride shotgun because, shotgun Texas, it all works out.
Right.
And so I jump into the back seat, right, and he's behind the back seat. He's got all these, cones, and he's got the soccer balls, and there's cleats and, so I kind of moved something over, and we're about halfway up to Kenosha, and I'm like, my butt's getting wet.
My grandson had not finished his sports drink and left it laying down in the back seat, not fully closed.
And so we're, here's two bald guys and a microphone.
And a wet butt.
And I get out and I'm like, does it look like I literally did? And Ron's like, yeah, you might want to keep your shirt down over there.
I said, the good news is some ladies checking out your behinds.
That's right.
He says, does my butt look wet? And I said, depends.
You should have got depends.
A little leaky.
Henry Stevens says, happy Memorial Day, guys, and good to listen to Sandy Barcus discuss Collier House and your other guests today. So thanks, Henry, for checking in.
We're blessed. We're blessed.
Like to make a comment about one thing Sandy said. She said that she had to learn about patience. And I was talking to Jana out at JP's Writing Roundup that's in honor of her son. And I mentioned to Jana that if everything happened at once that you want for the vision of this ranch, you'd probably be overwhelmed and not be able to handle that.
Yeah.
And maybe part of the blessing is that this is a dream that continues to keep going. And that it will come at the stages when things are needed. And maybe that's to protect you also.
Yeah.
Yes, could be.
And that's kind of in God's time, right? And that's the belief part of Reboot that we talk about is you got to hang in there and believe, and you guys opened the Collier House when?
July 8th, 2011.
2011. So it's been 6 years, coming up on 6 years. And I would guess that you had this vision, but not really high definition, view of it. But now it's probably done a lot more and come a lot farther than what you possibly imagined at the beginning.
I agree with you. My initial vision for Collier House was a cabin in the woods where we would have trees and snow.
Yeah.
And when we went to look for property for Collier House, the director of the program, Jerry Schneider, who knew my son very well, said, I know the place where we're going to put this house. And I said, okay, show me where it is. And he drove us literally to the edge of this ridge over Clark, Wyoming, and said, this is where you're going to put the house. And I said, but there's no trees. And he says, you don't need trees here.
Yeah.
I said, okay. So I went to get out of his big old truck, and he says, you got to get out the other side because the ridge is on this side. I was like, thanks for the warning.
Yeah. First step's a doozy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got out the other side, and I had a discussion with my sister. I said, but I wanted trees and snow, and, this isn't what I had in mind. And we talked, and I said, okay, all right, we're here for a reason. God brought us to this ridge for a reason.
Yeah.
I said, this is where it's going to be. So that's where it is. And it's not at all what my vision was like, but it's been greater than what I ever thought it could be.
Sure. And the feedback from the 100 families, right?
And when you stand on the ridge and you stand on the deck and you look over Clark, Wyoming and the mountains, it's like you are part of something bigger.
Yeah. And, last fall I went out to Ouray, Colorado. Now, this is my first time literally in the mountains, right? Literally on the side of a mountain, jeeping. And I took so many pictures because you realize how small you are.
Yes.
And that's, so I imagine the families that go there, life is heavy and it's big, and
you can just let go and let it go.
And you realize just how great God is, how grand this nation is, and it just kind of takes your breath away, I would imagine.
It does. It does the first time you look out on the ridge. It does take your breath away.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, it takes my breath away every time I'm there.
And hey, maybe one day, Coach, we'll do two bald guys and a microphone.
Ooh, Ray. I just like the name.
Ooh, Ray.
Ooh, Ray.
Or at the Collier House.
The Collier House. That'd be great.
How cool would that be?
Major fundraiser out there.
Oh,
Let's go.
I mean, that would be.
We could stop through my hometown and bring all 3 people with us.
I'd be
Two
scared
bald
of
guys and a microphone live from Collier House.
from Collier House.
This is 2 ball guys.
Hey, Sandy, I had a question for you.
Sure.
Because you said that it turned out to be much greater than what you'd anticipated. What's your fundraising requirement to buy the house?
It would be $275,000 for the house and the property.
Okay.
That's what it would be.
The same amount of property in the same house in Barrington, Illinois would cost you $1.7 million.
That's right, and that's
It's
just the taxes.
It's on 40 acres. The house is on 40 acres.
40 acres, beautiful.
And it's a 2-story house, and the acreage is surrounded by, I call them family, my family in Wyoming. So if the Gold Star families or the rehab families want to take a hike, they can go anywhere they
They're not
want
gonna
because
get
we
lost,
have
yeah.
access to all that property that surrounds us. 2 years ago, we had horses on the property, which was totally cool.
Wild horses?
No, they were
No.
horses from the farm,
From
the
farm,
ranch, and they were on vacation. It was during the winter, and
That's cool.
Horsey vacation.
they were on vacation, and I would open up my back. They would be standing there looking at me. That was a really
cool.
great.
Have
time.
you? I'm sure you've witnessed elk up there. From time
Pardon me?
elk from time to time.
Oh yes, actually we had an elk that was part of our mule deer herd.
Really?
Yes, he followed the rancher down from the mountain, and he joined up with this mule deer herd, and he was called the King of Clark because he had baling twine around his
Oh, you're
antlers.
kidding.
And he was down there, and I have pictures of him grazing with the mule deer.
Now, understand, out here you don't see mule deer. Mule deer are about twice as large as the white-tailed deer you see out here. Their antler shape is a little bit different, but an elk is about 3 times larger than them. So this is like Andre the Giant walking around with the lily buttons,
Yeah.
That's right.
or pushins, or
It
whatever
was
they're called.
it was just amazing. And
Yeah.
the mule deer come by our lower level of the house, which is our patio, and they come by, especially around breakfast time, and they'll walk by and they'll look right at you while you're sitting on the patio, and they're not afraid of us anymore. They were gone for about 3 months when we built the house, and then after things
All that
settled
noise.
down.
Yeah.
But we, one of the promises I had to make to the rancher who sold me the property is that I not disturb their trails.
Yeah.
So we had to find the mule deer trails, and we had to make sure that we didn't disturb anything. And we didn't. We built amongst the critters that were there before us, and now they come by and they look at you and good morning.
That's
It's like,
amazing.
Mule deer are nature's
I
pals.
encourage people to go to the website, thecollierhouse.org, because there's a great picture of what Sandy just described of a deer looking back up at you.
mm-hmm,
And it's amazing the bonds that you create with nature
mm-hmm.
and the different respect that you have for how this entire earth's been created and the peace that comes out of that.
Yes. The only thing I haven't bonded with are the pigeons that live underneath the house.
I don't think
Yes.
that would either.
Yeah.
Noah messed up. He should
Yeah,
have just
that's
brought
not a good one.
You
Especially-
call Mike Tyson; he can help with that.
That's right. That's right.
But we have bunnies that come and they sit underneath the deck, and we haven't had any snakes on the deck, but there was a snake once when I was coming out of the house. And as an aside story, I ended up calling a local friend of mine and said there's a rat in my driveway and I can't get out of my house. And I'm from the city, I'm afraid of snakes.
Hey, man.
And
Yeah. Hey.
he came up and he's laughing and he brought out his shovel. And everyone in Wyoming carries a shovel in their car so that they could
Chop
the
off
head
the
head.
or you learn how to hit your brakes and slide over them when you're on the road.
Yeah. So he came and he walked in and he said, "It's not a rattler." And I said, "It was right there." He said, "Yeah, it was. It was just some
Big old bull
local
snake.
snake that eats rattlers, apparently."
It's a bull snake.
Yeah. And he said, "You need this one on your property." And I said, "Where is it?" And he goes, "I threw it out back." And I said, "Okay, I got 40 acres. That's okay. Just keep him away from my front door."
Yeah.
They're a constrictor type snake, but they do protect and keep the rattlesnakes away. So the bull snake are the farmer's
know.
friend.
I learned that, yep.
Interesting.
And his wife called and said, "Where are you?" And he goes, "I'm up at Collier House. Sandy had a snake in her driveway." Oh, and she thought it was a rattler. And I said, "Yeah."
City girl.
City girl, yeah.
Yeah, down here, I learned there's a local culture. If it isn't a cottonmouth or a copperhead, it's a chicken snake.
Right.
Everything else is identified as a chicken snake.
Runs away. The cough track is back, it sounds like, Coach. And the cough track.
Just cleared up.
Yeah. Which is good. Go ahead, brother. Yeah.
Hey, by the way, I got the invoice for the replacement of the cough button from last week.
Yeah. Right, no kidding.
I was just going to say, I'm the city guy that'll go up and try to pet the rattlesnake thinking it's a bull snake.
That's it. Good snake. Good
We were at Fort McCoy, and a timber rattler is not nearly as big as a diamondback rattlesnake, but they're still very, very dangerous. And one of my soldiers came over and said, "Sir, there's a snake in our area where we're putting our fighting position." So I went over, and it was a rattlesnake. It was highly poisonous snake. I picked up a stick, I trapped his head, I grabbed him just like I learned to do as a kid, and everybody wanted to come check out the snake, all the city boys, right? One of the snake's defense mechanism is to release all of their, they don't really have a 1 and a 2, they have like a 1.5. But they release it all together. So I'm holding the snake and all these soldiers coming up and looking at it. The snake got nervous and just sprayed his over like 10 of them. And I'm like, is it poisonous? No, it's just poop.
Yeah.
So I took him about a mile away and released
So
him.
Damon and I are sitting here and we're like, the best snake is the plumber snake that cleans out the
Right.
that cleans out the drain.
Well, you guys don't
That
know,
snake
but
is a dead snake.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Looks
I like
good
that
on a
one.
pair of boots. That's it.
there's a lot of people, when they see a snake, they just freeze and are paralyzed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they've been talking about that on TV because that's called reptile dysfunction.
And with that, do you know what time it is?
Yes, it is. It is time for Isn't
That
That Interesting?
And I found out one thing that's very interesting here. I'm sitting by microphone number 2's control button, but talking on microphone number 1. And so sometimes when I cough, I push the cough button on
Right,
one. So that's why you're hearing me cough from time to time, because I'm highly confused on which cough button to
Isn't that interesting?
Isn't that
Yeah.
interesting?
So it's great that you've been muting out Demond. It's wonderful. But thank you for coughing into the microphone. It's good. Absolutely. So isn't that interesting? That segment that we go, things that make you go, that you found out through the week and just go, wow, isn't that interesting? Damon, what do you have?
Well, we live in a culture now where people are always looking for something, no matter what happens. So I guess over the weekend there was a lady that came to the hotel, and she had on some very long heels.
Isn't that interesting?
very long heels.
And her heel caught one of the steps, and she fell. And she tried to get her room comped as if it was the hotel's fault.
the
No rain, completely dry, and it was just, it was pretty interesting listening
Isn't
to her
that
trying to get a room
interesting?
comped. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Rancho Ron, I know down in Greenville there was a lot of interesting things this week.
There were, but one of the most interesting things I found out was that banging your head against the wall burns 150 calories an hour.
Isn't that interesting?
Well, what if you can't do it for the whole hour?
You just stole Deke's fitness tip for the week. Yeah, Coach. Any signs this week?
Oh, I'm looking through, but the one I read earlier, I'm sure we have no listeners, is Mr. Rogers neighborhood didn't get me prepared for the people in my neighborhood.
That's right. Boy, you did not from my neighborhood.
Here's a sign as I'm going through them. Illiterate, ? Right for free help.
Absolutely.
There was a billboard in Dallas that said that. It said, illiterate, call this number.
Right.
Oh boy, I the interesting thing that I go, isn't that interesting, is is how, speaking of those heels, was at the 8th grade graduation, right? These young ladies trying to do heels, 8th graders,
Oh my gosh, that had to have been hilarious.
Ashley and I, my oldest daughter, we're just sitting there cracking up, watching these girls like try to get up the stairs, shake hands, and then either down the stairs or down the ramp. And we were on the ramp side, for the handicap wheelchair piece, and they would watch them try to walk as it was kind of metal and rippled. I would say corrugated. I have no idea, but so you don't slip. And watching them try to walk down that in heels was like. What's interesting, where I go, isn't that interesting? Is like, I have a daughter, and I'm like, you are not wearing heels. What, you can't even, so
You're as tall as you're going to get.
That's it. For some of these young ladies to, and even guys just wearing dress shoes sometimes at the 8th grade level too was interesting.
Awkward.
Yeah, a bit awkward, right?
Well, it's kind of like watching drywall apprentices on their first time on stilts.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It was amazing. Anything, Rich? Isn't that interesting?
Well, I'm not going to explain this fully. You're going to have to figure out the acronym for yourself. But apparently, years ago, they used to ship manure was like the only real fertilizer. They'd ship it overseas in a boat.
Yeah.
And they'd dry it because it weighed less. But you're in the ocean, and with rain and the waves, the manure would get wet, and then somebody, once it got wet, that natural process of methane would fill up, and somebody would go down with a lantern, and they figured out that was a bad thing. So they decided that the proper way to ship manure was, and they gave specific instructions, was to ship high in transit. So work that out as an acronym, and you'll know where that word came from.
So if we could get our good friend Casual Pitch to call in on that one, he's the acronym king, right? He might be able to figure out ship high in transit, right?
I've never met a strong person with an easy past.
Oh, there you go.
We've talked about that.
Anything, Sandy, that made you go, this past week? Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
It always brings smiles to people's faces.
Yes. I think since we're talking about Collier House and how my son, legacy is to make a difference, I think he has a very strong influence on what happens in my life from wherever he is.
Yeah.
Recently, my sister has been trying to sell her home. And she put it on the market, and one of the buyers who came in, they've had several people come in and look at the house and not say anything. And on my sister's front door is my son's picture and his dates and everything. Mm-hmm. And a gentleman came in, and he looked at the picture, and he said, oh. He knew the area that Collier had been in because he had been a contractor for the United States government in Iraq, around where Collier was. So he knew of our conflict in Iraq, and he knew what had happened. He understood that Collier had given his life. And he made a bid on my sister's house.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. Those are those things that make you go,
Those are the things that go, Yeah.
Fantastic.
Hanging
So now
out-
he's into real estate.
Hanging out at Great America. Isn't that interesting? What people think they can wear when they go inside of a... It's okay, I'm in an amusement park. Yes, it was very amusing, but some people had off or on.
We need to have a serious talk.
Let's dress it up, people, a little bit out there. We got everybody's interest. Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
Yeah, you.
Very interesting. The graduation. The other thing that I find very, very interesting, it made me go, is just how many impatient people there are. So we were at the.
Would you hurry up and get through with this story?
Yeah, we were at the high school gym for the 8th grade ceremony, and then everybody funnels out 2 doors. It's like a cattle herd, right? And you all said that they don't move fast. And so Ashley and I, go, well, let's walk through those doors outside and we'll come back in and we don't have to be around all the cattle herd. So my wife and parents got stuck in the cattle herd, and behind them, people are like, just get around them. Just come on. This is ridiculous, and I'm going, isn't that interesting? Relax, folks. You're the ones who decided to walk in the cattle. Interesting. Just very interesting.
When you talk about our lack of patience, when I left Milwaukee to come back, I was supposed to go Milwaukee to Kansas City to Dallas. It was about a 2-hour and 45-minute flight. With all the weather that was going on last Monday, it turned out I ended up taking an earlier flight, but had to go to Denver, which is a 2-hour flight. Had a 3-hour layover, another 2 hours to get back to Dallas. And I noticed how upset people were getting. And I thought of Joni's grandmother that went from Utah to California over 3.5 months in a covered wagon. And I was thinking how much have changed what our level of patience is.
Right, that is.
A minute's too long in the microwave now.
That's right.
Oh my gosh, is this thing ever going to heat up?
What do you call a doctor with a lack of patience?
Broke.
I was coaching soccer this weekend, and walking behind the parents, I saw this one parent turn his back to the field and then say very loudly, "Come on, referee, call the game." As if the referee couldn't tell it was the guy with his back turned who's sweeping out.
Isn't that interesting? Oh, that's good. That's good right there. The other great thing is, isn't that interesting? Is I was talking with the referees at the tournament, yesterday, and these guys are out there probably getting paid $30-$40 a game or something like that, just to get beat up. Oh my goodness. And game after game, and at the, to me, Damon, I'm a girls coach. The speed of the game, I was telling Coach coming in, between girls and boys is amazingly different.
Yeah.
And for these guys to be up and down that court and making these calls game after game, and I'm just getting lit up by these coaches, and getting lit up by the players, getting lit up by the folks that I was just like, hey, you know what, guys? I walked over. I said, I gotta just say, you're doing a great job. I would not want your job today, and keep up the good work. And a couple of them were like, "Hey, man, thanks." And I go, really, they were calling it pretty consistent, but I could see, whereas I was a coach,
Right,
I wouldn't have thought it was consistent.
Yeah, refereeing's not easy. I've done it once.
Yeah.
A couple times, but the first time I remember is when I was back in Columbia, Missouri, and I was working at an elementary school at the time. So the first game I refereed was a girls team of a bunch of 4th graders from the school I worked at. So of course they're expecting every call. The next game were 2 teams from the school that I worked at that were playing against each other. And then the last game I refereed the championship game for the 4th grade boys. And one of the teams was all the boys that went to the school that I worked at, and half of the other team were boys at the sports camp that I worked at in the summer. So I got everybody just expecting all the calls. It was horrible.
Hey, ref, didn't you see that muggin? He made a fist and hit me just like that. Well, I guess you probably didn't see it. You couldn't get there because you are so doggone fat. And ref, what about that travel? Gosh, you walked halfway from here to Tennessee. You had to put that P back in your whistle. What do you mean you're giving me a T? Hey, player, want a little cheese with your wine? How about you shut up and play the game? If you use the talent that God gave you, you may find you'll never play the same. So you just dribble, shoot, and rebound. I'll make the calls that I see while you, my friend, are playing I am getting paid to referee.
Wow.
Nice.
Hey, a studio audience?
I'll be in the area until about 9.
Well, that's 3 today. I mean, this guy's on it. He must have slept good last night. He got 3 of them coming out here. Or he's not under the drugs from, he's now out of the
I'm
fog.
still on the drugs.
That's right. He's out of the fog, which is great. Folks, we are two
bald guys and a microphone.
and we are talking about dedication to a cause, your purpose in life. Interesting, too, I think, and we'll talk a little bit about it more after the top of the hour. And coming right up after the top of the hour, after Deke's
Deke's
fitness.
Health and Fitness Facts.
Yeah, I will get that right once, right? Deke's Health and Fitness Facts is, the new something new coming to town
Something
here, and it's going to become a staple. It's going to be one of the most looked forward to pieces of the show, I think. Coach.
It could be very demanding.
Very demanding, very demanding, and I think it's going to be way cool. So stick around in the next couple minutes as we'll get to that. But dedication, interesting too. I was thinking about dedication, your purpose in life, finding it, and a dedication. And I do a lot of reading. I read a lot of books, and at the beginning of each book is a message or a dedication. Right, so it's a dedication that is written, or that this book is being performed in honor or express affection for someone. And I think when we talk about that dedication, and we've been talking about being bigger than self, it kind of ties into that too. Is that you don't necessarily write the book for yourself, but there's a bigger cause.
So if your life were a story,
yeah,
who would you dedicate it to?
Absolutely. Is that
My children.
That's so
Spoken like a true mother.
That's it.
Happy
Actually-
Mother's Day a couple weeks later.
That's right.
Thank you.
That's right.
Actually, I have a movie of Collier House that we show, and I do fun when I go to meetings and stuff. And at the end, my dedication is to my kids.
That's it. Awesome.
Nice.
Ron, it's 8 o'clock. You want to give the call letters?
101.3 FM WHIWLP, Harvard, Illinois.
Gorgeous.
Straight from Greenville, Texas.
Gorgeous. Gorgeous. That guy says that with such demand and purpose. And it is. It's such a great radio station here in Harvard. You know what, too? Coming up this weekend is Milk Days here in Harvard.
Milk days. What is that?
Right? What is
Ooh.
it? Right. This is the big deal, and this is where Hermelda, the big cow. This is it, man. This is the party of all parties. There's parades. There are things going on, and 101.3 FM WHIW is great. Glad to be part of it. We're going to be doing a lot of things, which is cool on Saturday. As a matter of fact, two bald guys and a microphone is going to have a little float. We're going to be going through the town of Harvard in the
It
parade.
will never be the same.
Will never be the same.
On Thursday, June 18th, 1942, 3,000 men and women and children gathered at the intersection of Ayer and Brainerd Streets to pay tribute to the local dairy farmers. There were speeches, singing, baton twirlers, dancers, and drinking of 500 gallons of milk. Thus began the first annual Harvard Milk Days Festival, which has since turned into the longest-running hometown festival in the state of Illinois. It is only right and natural that Harvard should honor the producers who have made it the milk center of the world, said program chairman Charles Minot in 1943. This Milk Day will be much more than the glorified picnic it started out to be.
That's it. And it is amazing. So
Is this where I mentioned I'm allergic to milk?
that's fine. You can. And the nice thing is it kind of starts on Wednesday. Wednesday, May 31st, 6 p.m. We got the big wheel races and the bed race finals. They actually push people around in beds. It's wonderful. It's crazy. It's going to be off the hook.
Do they still paint the street white for the parade?
I don't know if they do that or not. We'll let you know. So the bed race finals are going to be on Air Street downtown. Thursday, June 1st at 6:15 p.m. There's a youth parade. Saturday, June 10th. This is like a whole couple weeks deal, right? Is the Milk Days golf outing and lunch over at Beaver Creek Golf Course. Amazing. So, what's it look like? Well, Friday, June 2nd for Milk Days from 10 to 4:30 p.m. is the Antique Tractor Display. 5 p.m. the festival grounds open, food court, marketplace, cow chip lotto, carnival, concessions, petting zoo, and chainsaw carving. Ron, there will be professionals here doing that. You're not going to be carving cheese with the chainsaw then. 7 to 10 p.m. State Line Entertainment tent. 10 p.m. fireworks display on Friday, which is great. And then Saturday, June 3rd, at 6:45 a.m., there's a milk run, which is great. And that starts at 8. So it's a 2-mile run, walk, or a 10K run. Then there's the Kids Dash. Antique Tractor Display continues to go on. Then at 1 p.m. is the 76th annual Milk Days Parade. It is going to be something to just marvel at. It is going to be great. And
Well,
Go ahead.
what I find interesting is that up there you have to be a professional to cut the cheese.
That's it. Hey.
The problem I have with the antique tractors is those are all the tractors I grew up farming with.
You still think they're new?
They still run like new, some of
do.
them.
Some of them are good, right?
They're so simple.
It is amazing. Yeah, it's going to be a blast. Two bald guys and a microphone's going to be in the parade. We'll be driving a nice truck. We'll have a cow in the back of the truck. Maybe some kids throwing out some cowbells and
No cow chips. Not on the
what were
no
those
duds.
slow pokes? Were they? There was some cow thing or something. wasn't there?
Cowtails. It's a candy.
Cowtails. Yeah, that's
There were
it.
cowtails, or there was a couple others
They're
too.
caramel.
What about milk duds?
Milk duds.
Yeah,
There you go.
Sure, we'll be throwing something out there, which is great. And then just want to get in, Deke's fitness, health and fitness tips.
Hold on.
Yeah,
I'm waiting with bated breath.
there you go. I don't know what that means. Okay, here it is. Your fitness success really depends on setting goals that matter to you. There
To
it
you.
is. That's my
All
fitness
If
tip.
it don't matter,
Yeah. You're not going to do it.
what if it matters to my
Set
wife?
a goal that matters to you. In other words, Damon can look at me and say, Deke, you're pretty fat. You need to lose 20 pounds. Well, that's his goal for me, not mine, right? I may say I might need to eat that whole pizza. Right? So, so set a goal that means
Or
something
meat
to
soup.
you. And Coach, out of our weekend last weekend, we said and went through some listeners' feedback and people out there on Facebook Live. Thank you so much. We love you for your feedback. And Damon, we said we had a surprise for you. So here it is.
Is it a Range Rover?
Yeah, yeah.
No.
You can
A
go to Wyoming and
1965.
be a Range Rover. all you want.
That's right. We are putting in right now a brand new segment.
Brand new segment.
And we're going to allow Damon K. Ross to come up with the theme for this, the music, the intro, right? But Damon, we can't thank you enough for being such a big part of our show and inspiring us and our group of listeners. That at 8:05 every Monday morning, right here at 101.3 FM WHIWLP, with two bald guys and a microphone, is going to be Dialogue with Damon.
Dialogue with Damon.
Dialogue
Double
with-
D.
Double
Get outta
D.
here.
Dialogue
Double D.
with Damon. And the crowd goes wild. Is amazing. So here it is. We know we got kind of sprung it on you, but for the next 10 minutes or so you're going to be the host. So you're going to be talking with our guests. You always come up with great things.
And today's your
ideas.
first day. Go, Damon.
That's right. So from 8:05 to 8:15 is going to be Dialogue with Damon. We're happy to have you. We're grateful that you're here,
appreciate
especially on this morning. So the microphone's all yours, brother.
Wow, this is quite amazing. Never saw this coming.
Yeah.
9
This
minutes and
happened.
55 seconds to go.
That's
mean,
live. And
it's-
you're seeing it live, right, on Facebook. So here it is. Yeah.
I mean, it's cool that you guys have been calling me the past several weeks, and I've pretty much said quietly and asked some questions here and there. So this is a bit of a shock and a surprise. So
Yeah.
appreciate that, and
Is this the first
appreciate you
time?
guys.
You might have to drop some lyrics. I think we caught him speechless here. It's
There,
good.
there we go. Let's.
A little bit. What But so today we're talking about purpose and dedication.
Finding your purpose.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of purpose and talking about purpose, I know with myself, you guys have come to realize that my purpose is to help youth and help teens to become their best, and it's always just a great opportunity to live out that purpose on a daily basis. Now, when I started out on my journey 3 years ago to become a motivational speaker, my intent was simply to go into schools and different places, youth groups and whatnot, to speak to youth. And through some different turns and different events, now I'm working at a therapeutic day school and living out my purpose on a daily basis, and not just on a come in, swoop in and say what I have to say and leave. So it is an amazing thing, and I get some great opportunities to work one-on-one with students. And, like even this week, talk about dedication and being dedicated to something. I have a particular student who I've created a really close bond with, and she deals with a lot of anxiety. She deals with a lot of depression and just self-doubt. And she's been going through a serious process over the past 2 years of just fighting coming to school and being an active student. And I've been working a lot with her therapist, and she has a lot of times where she gets just really down and kind of wants to give up. Well, about a year ago, during her junior year, she kind of decided, this is not for me. So she stopped showing up to school, hadn't been coming. And we were really anticipating at 17, with parents' permission, that she would, drop out. But over the summer, she went and got some treatment and, got into this program and decided that she wanted to give it a go. So she came back to school, and, this school year has had its, ups, but there's been some downs. But one of the things, I talked about dedication, is just her dedication to, fulfill her goal. Because if you go back a year ago, honestly, as much as I care about her, and as much as I want to see her succeed and graduate and move on, I didn't think that it would happen. But she's had so many positive things, and I'm just grateful that I'm able to live out my passion and my purpose of helping. And she has kind of become a purpose for me to help her see this through, because in recent weeks, she's become really down, and I think she's getting a little bit afraid of what's going to happen next. What's that next chapter going to look like?
And you and I met right after this. Frank Hostica, imagine that, introduced us. And, we talked about what you'd like to do. And we imagine, when we see motivational speakers like Tony Robbins and these big guys with tens of thousands in the audience, sometimes an audience of one is the most powerful.
Yeah.
Where you can really touch that one person, inspire that one person. And it'd be great to be up on stage, and we'll be there.
Oh, yeah,
there's no doubt in my mind that
this
is our purpose in coming together, is getting out. And, that's some of the things we went over this past weekend, is how we're going to accomplish that. But, Lamont, I've seen you in front of a group. I would watch your videos. You touch people, brother, when you get up there.
Yeah, I do my best to. I mean, I speak from the heart. And, again, it goes back to purpose and just being dedicated to seeing lives change. And as I, speak about that young lady, like I said, she's really been going through a tough time over these past few weeks. And, I've been working a few days ago, earlier in the week, her therapist sent me an email. It's like, she's really jumping off the wagon here. I need your help. And so to be able to go in, and I sat down with her, with the student, and we talked and worked with her, and she was still like at that point, like, yeah, I hear you guys, but I'm just over it. I'm done. And so the next period, I just, told the therapist, like, I'm going to keep her with me. We'll do some activities to get her some PE credits. And I was able to dig in a little bit deeper and talk with her a little bit more and kind of get to the source of her pain. But by the end of it, it was great, because when we were walking down the hallway, another staff came up and was like, hey, are you going to graduate? And she was like, yes. Whereas just 40 minutes earlier, she was like, I don't care what you guys say. I'm not, going to do it. And it's just that the dedication and sticking with it and, really pushing the issue in the envelope with, make sure the student doesn't give up.
Well, as I mention all the time, your input determines your output. and our output is someone else's input. So when you can provide positive input to someone else,
Absolutely.
you are making a difference in their life. And when you can take it to that point where the balance starts to tilt in their lives to the positive side, the results are incredible.
Oh yeah.
And it's again, I go back to the lives that we get to touch. Sometimes when you're working in an environment where they really need to be touched, they really need a positive influence because their life outside of that school is full of just garbage.
Oh yeah.
People telling them they're worthless. They're home. Some of them don't have a meal when they go home. The only meal they get is when they're at the school, and the only positive influence, the only positive statements they hear about themselves is when you're there.
Absolutely.
The easiest part of coaching, professional coaching, is just looking at my clients and say, you know what, you're awesome, and they're like, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are. And sometimes that's what people need to hear. So
Yeah.
Demond, we've been friends for a long time, and this same way we started with Ron. Ron started as a 15-minute segment. Do you remember that, Ron?
I do.
And
I'd like to jump in here.
Please do.
Yes.
Demond,
Yes.
what you exhibit and what I've seen of you and the brief time we've known each other in the show, is you have the gift to get past the stereotype of the individual and focus on the individual.
Oh yeah.
And I listened to Sandy's story about Collier, that the mentors and the counselors up at the ranch do the same thing. They don't care what baggage or what earrings or what anything they show up with to hide the fact that they're hurting. They get past that and get to the real issue and draw the best person out of that condition.
Absolutely.
And you have that gift.
Yeah, and I think I said the purpose has a lot to do with it. On Friday, I had an opportunity to go over to the elementary school just to observe and see what they have going on over there, because it's a little bit different culture, and obviously with younger kids. And while I was walking around with the staff member who was showing me everything, there was a student who was struggling really bad. I mean, they ended up having to physically restrain him. And he ended up in this room with these mats, and he's ramming himself into the mats, and he's climbing up on the wall trying to get to the part where there wasn't a mat, and just all of this stuff. And so I was there working with this guy, and it was just great. And just to tell people, just when you're working within your purpose and you're dedicated to something, it'll come through anyway. And I was able to work with that student this student had never met me before, and he was pretty much going bonkers, just all over the place. And I just started conversating with him and asking him a few little questions. And he said something that caught my attention. That's something that he was really interested in. And I used this, and I kind of got this tactic from Coach Squirrel. You distract him. And so I started talking about this activity that the student said he likes to do outside of class. And we got off into that conversation, and it happened to be something about boot camp. And I was like, oh, get out of here. You like that? Well, why don't we do this? Let's have a push-up contest. You and me right now. Come on, let's go. And I got down on the floor, and we had this push-up contest. And, and through that conversation, I was able to weave back into what his real issue was and what his struggle was that day in school. And, by the time we were finished, the kid was ready to go back and talk with his teacher and move on with his day.
So how many push-ups did he beat you by?
About 3.
Hey, not bad. So he did 8, you did 5. Fantastic. Nice
Pretty
work.
much. But it was great. And the guy who I was working with was like, hey, thanks. I was even getting stuck myself. So it was just, really cool what you did. But again, it's like, I know my purpose is to help. So, taking all of the blinders and everything off and just seeing the kid for, who he is, where he was, and being able to get him back regulated was a really cool thing.
Well, these planned distractions are so powerful, especially in this day and age. We get so focused on something, and it starts creating. We go back, and Chuck could probably give it its exact name or whatever, but we get so focused on that thing that it's that thing that's making our life fall apart. But wait a minute, what's this thing over here? This thing over here is not so bad.
Yeah.
And and then it's just
Planned distraction here. These wonderful butter cookies from Swiss Made Bakery right here that you brought in.
Hey, you know
Thank you for
Federal
that.
Express comes to Greenville.
I think he's
They
asking
might
for
be
some
day, they
cookies.
might be day old, Ron, but we'll get them there. That's for sure. They are terrific. And if you got a little coffee, they're even better. Amazing.
They're
They're
pretty
amazing.
wonderful.
Oh.
We ate them on the train on the way into Chicago.
Oh man, they're right. Look at Rich. Absolutely, they are good.
All right, so I've got a weird question. Have any of you guys ever seen the movie Gattaca? Or ever heard of the movie Gattaca?
no.
I've heard.
All right, it's a science fiction movie, and I want to say Ethan Hawke is the main character. Uma Thurman's in it, and I've watched the movie years ago, and I want to go back to it. But there was one thing that came to mind that stuck out with me is to talk about this guy that had purpose. So it was a futuristic time, and everybody in this future was genetically perfect. They
Kind of like me.
made
like
sure.
me.
Genetically
Yeah.
modified.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, they were genetically modified.
kind of like two
Bald guys on a microphone.
Absolutely, and so everyone you couldn't advance in this society in this future society unless you were perfect, and they tested everything from your genes and everything. So there was this guy who came up with this, or who found out about this plan, in which you use the genes and everything from everybody else. And so, I mean, he would literally have to every day he would shave off all the dead skin cells on his arms every morning, comb out his hair to where no hair follicles would fall out, all the loose ones would fall out. He would have to and every time when you go into this particular building, because he wanted to be a part of the space program, or he joined the space program, he wanted to go into space, you had to put your finger on this machine, and it would prick your finger and test your blood to make sure you were genetically
Right.
perfect, so the turnstile would go so you can walk in. And this guy went through this rigorous process every single day for years in order to finish that process. So you want to talk about dedication. If you're looking to watch a movie or something that's inspiring, you watch this, and if you look at it from that perspective, it was just amazing watching this guy day after day
Yeah.
go through this rigorous. I mean, that he was the definition of dedication.
Yeah, and while you're watching those motivational movies, I'm watching Chopped.
Peckers.
House Hunters. That's what I'm into, right? Absolutely. And that is Dialogue with Demand. That's going to be a featured spot every week from 8:05 to about 8:15. We threw him out, man, right off the
We
cuff.
threw him under the bus. He had no idea.
That's
we were
amazing,
going to.
right? And that's why he is DeMond K. Ross, right? And
Always.
amazing,
Believe
right?
me.
And sometimes he'll be in studio. Sometimes we'll catch him in his mobile office, the Explorer, as he's cruising into work. And sometimes he may just be
All hands free.
all
hands free,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's right. Not steering. I mean, his hands. I mean, anyway. But yeah, we're talking about purpose, dedication to a cause. In studio with us today, we're so blessed to have, Gold Star mother, right? Sandy Barcus here. I always want to say Brackus for some reason. That's why I'm looking at the car. I don't know why I do that, and I digress. But
Dyslexia.
yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe you just look like a Brackus. I don't even know. But anyway, we're so blessed to have you here, the president, founder of the Collier House, just making a difference in a ton of people's lives, and we talked a little about the first hour, the backstory of your son Collier. We talked about the tragedy and how we turn that tragedy into something great in the second hour. And this, this point in the show, what we really want to do is, what do you see in the future? What's coming up for you in the Collier House?
So before we do that, we
No,
have
let's wait there.
Our listener base has kind of flipped. We have a lot of new listeners, so just want to go through the backstory again briefly. And that's Collier, your son, at the age of 15, had fallen into the control of drugs and alcohol. Went to a ranch in Wyoming, got his life back on track. Came out of there and was working construction and some other things. On 9/11, he joined the United States Army. And then, was it July 8th, 2004?
Yeah,
July 2004, lost his life in a mortar attack and bomb in his barracks, where he was sleeping and comfortable. And from that tragic loss, you've created the Collier House. You and your sister had the vision, but your passion has carried that through.
Amazing.
And you've helped over 100 families get through rough patches in their life. So that's the real Reader's Digest version of where we're at. And now,
right.
fast forward to Kent's question, and which was Kent?
Huh?
What was your question? What you asked?
What do we see coming up in the future? What does the Collier House hold? Any events going on? What's happening? We know the spaghetti dinner coming up in November.
November 4th.
November 4th.
Well, I'm going out to Collier House next week on June 10th, and Collier's birthday is June 14th. So we will be learning how to fly fish on June 14th. If the river isn't too cold and running too fast.
I find that the best way to fish for flies is just put up those sticky strips.
Sandy, what's unique about what you just said is June 14th is the day.
That is our anniversary.
That's the day we met.
That is the day.
Really?
That's the day Two Bald Guys and a Microphone actually had its beginning.
Wow, that's amazing.
And July 8th, 2009 is when Lucy was born. So that'll be a very, very more meaningful now, right? I mean, that's amazing.
Wow.
Look at all that.
Isn't it amazing how that works?
It is. God's good.
Just amazing.
Yeah.
Just amazing. So we're going to have an open house on June 17th at the Clark Recreation Center in Clark, Wyoming.
Awesome.
And then we're going to have people up at the house. There'll be 4 of us, 2 of us down at the Clark Recreation Center and 2 of us up at the house. And then at the Fiesta Day Parade is going to be Rich Wakawiak from J.A. Freight.
Yeah, J.A.
He's
Freight.
going to be driving the big truck with all the boys' faces on it.
Awesome.
And in the parade for us. Sadly, there will be no one from Collier House there because that's the weekend of my daughter's wedding. And we'll all up.
What was she thinking?
I don't know what she was thinking, but
Well,
we'll all be celebrating.
2 bald guys and a microphone. Nope, somebody who may be the announcers at that parade. So we'll
Yes,
make sure
there is
that
a
the Collier House is well represented there.
Good. Thank you very much.
We may have an inside line there.
We may.
That'd be great.
We may even have a
Well,
larger
the
role
other
this year.
significance to June 14th is it is Flag Day.
It is Flag Day,
Flag
yes.
Day.
Yes.
That's right.
And that's amazing.
Yes, and that's with an L. Flag Day.
So hopefully we'll be fishing on June 14th. And then this year we won't be up in the mountain on July 8th. Collier's remains were scattered up on the mountain where he made his change and decided this is what he wanted to go the right way.
Yeah.
So sadly we won't be there this year. This will be the first year that we won't be there. But I know that we'll be there in spirit because my grandson's birthday is July 10th, so we're going to be here celebrating.
Nice.
And one of my rules is that, which I know Collier understands, is that the living come first, and I will be there if I can.
There you go.
Right.
So when you go out to the Collier House, you do the cowboy hat, cowgirl boots, all that, or do you just go as the city
cowboy
girl?
costume?
Yeah, you go as the city girl.
I've had my share of cowboy boots.
Yeah,
And I do wear Collier's cowboy hat when I'm in the parade.
which is a nice hat too, by the
It
way.
is a very nice hat, yes. And when I go out to Collier House, I'm usually out there 3 to 4 times a year to make sure that things are running well and talk with our volunteers and the people who help us out while we're out there.
Rancher Ron got a shot of me wearing a nice cowboy hat while he was here too. We went to Big R, right?
Oh, Big R.
Had to show him
Yeah.
Big R. He was here in
Yeah,
town.
yeah. I've been to Big R in Powell, Wyoming.
Wow, nice.
If I haven't sent that picture, I'll send it to you. You can put that on the Facebook page for
No, you
Two
sent
Bald
it.
Guys.
No, you sent it. I got it. It would look bad. What I've got to do is Photoshop this picture of from Wyoming into the back of it instead of like the clothes at Big R, so it looks like I'm actually not just trying a hat on, you know.
Yeah, next time we'll take that picture in front of a green screen.
That's right.
And you can drop in that beautiful scenery behind the Collier House.
Right.
There you go.
Absolutely. You know, and the other thing is that I wanted to just talk about is I imagine then it's interesting that you said that his ashes were scattered up there in the mountains. Is the energy? I've done a lot of work, mission work out in North Dakota, South Dakota, on the Rosebud Reservation Ranch, and I've been to Wounded Knee and all that good stuff, and the energy there is amazing.
Yes.
And, so I imagine, the energy there at the house, the energy at the Collier House on that 40 acres is probably pretty intense.
It's very intense. It's very peaceful.
Yeah.
It's very quiet, and I always get rejuvenated when I go out to Collier House for a couple of days.
Yeah.
I always come back knowing that we do have a purpose and we are doing a good thing. Because sometimes I kind of lose focus on why are we here and why are we doing this, because we're not moving as fast as I would like us to be moving.
Yeah.
And I come back and I read the comments from our families in our communication log, and it's just so nice to hear the things that they say and how much they appreciate the house.
And and as we're talking about purpose and dedication to a cause, is how interesting that you helped Collier find his way and helped uncover his purpose in life, and how he did the same for you.
Yes.
I mean, in all your life, did you imagine that you'd be doing with all your heart, breath, energy, affecting hundreds of families so far, and how much do you just sometimes step back, as we say in Reboot, to unplug and just go, thank you, God. I had no idea that this is why you put me on earth, but wow.
I guess it's kind of like the title of the book. I did not plan that.
Yeah.
This wasn't in my plan. Like I said, initially I wanted Collier House in a forested area with snow and trees, and we're on a ridge overlooking the mountains in Clark, Wyoming. Things have just not been what I had envisioned for my life. I had envisioned something totally different. A house with a picket fence, and it's not what it turned out to be. And
now just that purpose is it gets you up in the morning, and just your passion pours into it. I know, Sandy, and to me, that is, as we all kind of walk through life and look for that reason, you're one person who is.
Thank
and
you.
That's amazing to me.
Thank you. Well, I really try, and I recently read a book called The Dignity of Being Ordinary, and it was a book about the Dalai Lama and the Pope go on the lam for 4 days because they just want to be ordinary.
Well, that lamb carried them those whole 4 days.
Poor little fella. Right?
And one of the statements in the book is from the Dalai Lama, and it said that, my religion is kindness. And I guess that kind of sums up who I am. It's like, I just want to be nice.
Right.
And just make things easier for people.
Awesome. And that during that 4 days is probably when the Pope was driving the limousine.
They were in a Maserati.
Yeah, Maserati. That's it.
The other thing is Sandy, you keep talking about the house being on 40 acres, but when I look at the pictures, the house is on tens of thousands of acres,
yes.
of which only 40 you have to take care of.
Yeah.
Actually,
And what a freedom there is there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Demond, the newest member of our show, is now going to read our identification.
Oh.
You're listening to 101.3 FM, WHIWLP, Harvard, Illinois.
Woo.
Very
Okay,
good.
we're going to put a little more emphasis in that, Demond. We got 101.3 FM, WHIWLP, Harvard, Illinois. Let's go. Give
I'll
it a
work
little
on
bit
my
more.
radio voice.
Okay.
101.3
There.
FM, WHIWLP, Harvard,
There you
Illinois.
go.
Oh, yeah, let's give him a round. Good job.
His problem is he doesn't have a face for radio. He's a good-looking guy, so maybe he's got to really work on that.
I don't know.
On that on-air radio voice.
I can take
Yeah.
Well, I read the FCC regulations about station identification, and it had nothing to do about how loud it had to be, or what the cadence had to be,
It's the
or
energy.
whether or not
It's
you
the
were
energy.
excited, or you were fulfilling a governmental requirement, like paying your taxes.
That's
It
a
just
play
said
on
you
a
had
play.
to do it in a particular order.
That's it. But you
Devon
always,
fulfilled that requirement.
That was the FCC requirement.
Two bald guys and a microphone has a higher standard.
Yeah, you got to live up to that, right? And folks, if we've been talking about the Collier House all morning, and the pictures that Ron is talking about is on their website, www.collierhouse.org, COLLIER House HOUSE.org. And it kind of scrolls, so I've kind of lost myself in the Wyoming as well. It is truly amazing, and that in a previous life, I think I was a cowboy. I don't know. I love to me that's a slice of heaven.
Yes, it is.
Bill Hossey, I know Bill's listening out there. Bill's out in
Wild Bill Hossey.
He is out in Denver. His son just moved out to Denver, graduated college, moved out to Denver, and he's helping him with the move. And Bill posted on Facebook, he's like, give me the mountains, trees, on a campfire over the sand and ocean any day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, absolutely.
Ocean in Denver?
He said, yep, give them that over the ocean any day. Everybody wants to go live on an island or whatever. Give me the mountains. Give me Collier House.
40 acres, yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm pretty much an oddball because I'm a classic indoorsman.
Yeah. Give me the penthouse suite, please, at the Bellagio. Thank you very much.
And park my Maserati carefully.
That's right. That's right. The stone fireplace there, folks. I love the mantle, the old driftwood mantle there or whatever.
There's a story behind everything in the
Is
house.
that right?
Would you like to hear?
Yeah, let's hear that.
Okay. Well, if you look at the fireplace, there's a heart in the middle of the top of the fireplace.
Okay.
It's a heart stone, and that was found by our contractor out when he was finding rocks for Collier House. And our original motivator was where hearts come to heal. Collier House, where hearts come to heal. So he surprised me with the heart there. And then that piece of wood, that's the mantle. That is from the area where Collier's ashes were scattered.
Is that right?
We had gone up there on one of his anniversary dates, looking for whatever. We didn't know what we were looking for.
Right.
And my friend Bill said, that would make a nice mantle. I said, okay. So I said, all right, let's bring it. So we put it in the back of his truck, and he finished it up for us and made it into the mantle.
That is awesome. No, I have no idea. I'm not very good at math, so geography. Does it snow an awful lot there or no?
No.
So
But
it's always
this year
kind of
it
that
did.
beautiful.
This year it did. They had a record number of inches of snow. I think it was like 18 or 20 inches of snow on one day. And then the next day, the temperature went up and it all melted. So they had major flooding and road damage in Clark.
Wow.
And we had major road damage on our road where it cracked. And when I was driving up the road to go to the house, I thought they had had an earthquake.
Really? That big?
Because the crack was so big in my road. And you had to pick a side.
Wow.
And then, they had major road damage. Roads were closed. Their canals were affected by the major snow that they had this year.
I hate snow. That's why.
Usually they just have a dusting and makes it look pretty.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I'm okay with that. But then it warms back up and you're happy. So that stone, that heart stone, that wasn't carved. That was that was found.
Natural.
That is amazing.
That was found. Yeah.
Folks, if you go and look at it, it looks like a heart.
It does.
That's why I was like, really, that wasn't carved out.
It was carved by God.
True.
Damon, I'm looking for a co-host. Right?
Me too.
Yes, but just amazing, and the unique thing is on your ranch, the Collier House Ranch, and of course we got Rancher Ron. The amazing thing is even when you're there, I imagine, right? You can't just sit. You kind of get into it and get out into nature. You get out. Just looking at these pictures, it's like I would imagine your intent to go there is to go there and
veg.
Yeah.
Yes, and we have many families who come and veg, but I always find a note. We walked down the road today. It was so pretty. We climbed up the ridge. It was such a challenge to get to the house from the ridge, We walked down to the river and saw the fish. So someone is always getting out. The best time I have at Collier House is in the morning when I wake up and I open up the front door and I smell the sage coming through.
Gorgeous.
And the sun's coming up. It's just a beautiful moment.
So, why is that, you think, Ron? You've got the ranch, and just the pure beauty and nature of it. What is it about unplugging or getting to it that you just can't sit there and not become part of it?
It frees your mind. One of the things that I started to notice is the attention of detail that I had always missed. Mm-hmm. The greenness of the grass, the richness of the trees. I was in Collier, Wyoming a while back, and there was a tremendous thunder and lightning storm. And lightning actually hit at the end of the street where they had a bunch of hay stacked up, and it caught fire. And I thought, the majestic power of nature is beyond anything that I could imagine. We get so enamored with the things that man builds, but to sit there and watch nature at work without the distractions of the internet and the TVs and everything coming into our lives, and it allows you to feel that gratefulness that we talk about. Mm-hmm. And that feeling of the gratefulness takes away the fears that we have.
Yeah.
And you find a peace with that. We talked about the mule deer when I lived in Anaheim and things were going really, really terrible with the company and everything else. We had deer that would roam through our area, and it was kind of like a sign. I would drive down the hill, and if there were a few deer that were crossing the road through the trees, now this is in urban Orange County, it was kind of like a message being sent to me. It says, I've got this covered today. Don't worry about it. And nature does that. And that's what Sandy has found with the Collier House, that in the deepest, darkest storms that you're going through, there's just something about unplugging, relaxing, and seeing power that's much greater than you are, that makes it all worthwhile, that gives you that purpose, that there is a reason why all of this is here.
That is. It's amazing.
Andy Consovitz has checked in. He said, Semper Fi, thanking all military and especially those whose services meant so much to so many.
Well, he's had an out-of-body experience, too, and he took a selfie of it while he put it on Facebook. It's amazing. Yes, of course.
Squirrel.
All right. So, if someone robbed you in the shower, what would you be? Do we have an answer?
We do not. I know the answer.
What is the answer?
You are an eyewitness.
An eyewitness. Yes. That's right. Cleaned out was close, but yes, if someone robbed you in the shower,
good.
You would be an eyewitness. That is.
I think there are a lot of people that are drained trying to figure out what the answer is.
That was good, Ron.
That's the naked truth right there.
So if you can imagine, folks, I spent the entire weekend, and Rich is quiet, but Rich understands. I was out of my element with these guys, and I thought I was pretty punny, but you can imagine an entire weekend where the puns were just flying left and right, and I should have had one of those clickers, like when you're walking through,
right?
Yeah, click click click. We would have probably gone way over.
Broke the clicker,
which is amazing.
The pun was rising.
Oh my goodness! So the Collier House. The Collier House is one of was our pause for the cause, and of course Sandy Barcus, the mother of Collier Barcus, took her son's challenge and commitment, his ultimate dedication to purpose, given his life for our freedom, had a dream to provide a safe, comfortable home where surviving families of military members who were killed in active duty defending our great country can heal from the trauma, stress, and grief of their lives. In order to make the Collier's dream to make a difference reality, Sandy and her family set out to create a cabin where families could come together to rest, reflect, and remember their loved ones. It's out in Wyoming, so you fly out there or drive out there, and you would fly into where in Wyoming?
You can fly either into Cody or to Billings, Montana.
Beautiful. And then it's kind of how far from there?
It is 90-minute drive from Billings, Montana, which is a beautiful drive.
Yeah.
Or it's about 45 minutes from Cody.
And what I would suggest is get a convertible or at least
Yes, a motorcycle.
In the summer.
right, or something with like a sunroof or whatever, so you can really see everything.
It's very distracting driving there because
Yeah.
it's very beautiful and the scenery changes.
It's just amazing. Big sky country out there. I imagine if there's a storm coming, you can see it well before it
More
gets
than
there.
one, yes, you
Yeah,
can.
that's just amazing. Instead of here, City Boy, where it's right on top of you, and it's just falling from the skyscrapers.
Well, you can stand on the deck of Collier House and you can watch the storm coming over the mountains, and then it disappears when it gets to Clark.
Wow, just it runs out of juice.
Runs out of juice, and there's
I
not
would
nary a
like that.
raindrop.
I wish that it would happen here.
You know what? You would freak out, man. You're a city guy. It'd be too quiet out there for you.
Probably.
You wouldn't have the sirens, the cars. I've got friends who just moved out here to Wonder Lake from the city who couldn't sleep for the first 6 months that they were out here just because it's quiet.
Yeah.
They're like, there's nothing out here.
It's also very dark at night. And on a clear night, you can see the Milky Way,
wow.
and you can count the different, what do I want to say?
Constellations.
Satellites, no, you can't even count the constellations because there's so many.
So many.
And then last week, one of my friends just took a video of the Northern Lights.
Oh, I was just going to ask if you're part of
really
the.
clear.
Oh, how cool is
Really
that?
clear. So even at night, it's very interesting, and you can sleep on the deck if you'd like. Bring out the pillows from the couch and sleep on the deck, and you can listen to the coyotes howling. And
Yeah,
you can,
no.
My snoring would keep them away. Oh, yeah.
That purring is the mountain lion cuddled up next to it.
That's right. That's right. That is not a house cat. That's it.
That's what I was going to say. Is when you get out away from the city and the lights of the city that really kind of dim
Right.
the night sky. It's amazing, the stars.
You
that are
don't
out
really
there.
realize how many stars there are until you get out there.
Yeah.
I'm just surrounded by them all the time. I've got, Demond and Coach with me a lot, and
Rancher
Ron, all these stars. It's amazing. It's amazing.
I think being able to see the Milky Way also is kind of a mind-opening experience because it really makes you realize how small you are in this universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's that time. Cool people
Doing cool things.
caught in the act.
Caught in
And
the act.
I'm going to throw a shout out to my old high school teammate and then now coach Jamie Pettigrew. Jamie is the coach of the Iowa Barnstormers 15U. Doesn't have a kid in the program, just loves to mold young lives through coaching basketball. And the time that he dedicates to that and his passion, and you want to talk about a guy living out his purpose right there. Jamie, so wonderful to be with you yesterday, but even more blessed and grateful to watch the effect that you're having on these young guys' lives. And to me, that's really, really cool. And you were caught in the act because that's cool. Absolutely. Coach, what do you have?
On today, Memorial Day, cool people doing cool things is any young man or woman who makes that decision at whatever point. Sometimes it's when they're in middle school, high school, they know when they're graduating where they're going. Other times, I've met people who have gone through an entire college career, got out and said, man, what am I going to do with this? And they've just said, I'm going to do this. One of them was John Snodgrass. John was my executive officer at the when I was commander of the 131st Infantry in Elgin, Illinois. And John had a PhD in, he was a rocket scientist. He worked for Northrop Grumman. He was one of the guys who designed the, he was the study of stars, astronomy.
Sure.
He had his doctorate in astronomy and used that to effectively control the missiles. he left all of that to become a full-time soldier in a Denver unit and go on to become a battalion, and then by now he could be a brigade commander, who knows. But he just a cool guy with all this education decided he wanted to give it to make the military the most effective
That is cool.
it could be. So,
That is cool.
John Snodgrass.
Awesome. How about Ron?
Ron?
Hello?
Rancher Ron has gone out to feed the cows.
That's right. Must have.
What do you got, Devon?
There was a story I saw a few weeks ago, speaking of basketball, where Damian Lillard, he's a point guard for the Portland Trailblazers. He got together because every year when the team goes to the playoffs, they get bonuses for the playoffs. And I guess for the second year in a row, he got every player on the team to commit to pull all of their bonus money and give it to the staff. So the trainers, the secretaries, all the people that don't get the recognition for the organization, because the players are the faces of the organization. But he thought, a way to honor those people who really work hard behind the scenes that aren't seen, they deserve something. So all of the guys on the team donated all of the bonus money.
Can you imagine? There's got to be that one guy going, "Oh,
No. Oh, I'm sure.
really?"
Yeah.
Right.
But they did it. So
But
good
yeah.
stuff.
Really
Ron,
cool.
did we get you off mute or we got you?
Yeah, there's this little button that if you push, it mutes the microphone so you can cough and do whatever bodily functions you need to. And
That's right.
when you said, I said, well, I'm here. And you're saying, well, we're going to Demond. And I thought I'd been fired and replaced already after his first day on the show.
that memo will be coming out at 9:05.
but caught in the act, I'm going to give a shout out to a fellow, Donnie Barker, in the area. And he called and he said he wanted to just meet with me before church yesterday, and sat down and just took the time. He says, I want to let you know the effect that your book had on me, and what I see that you could do in the future to impact more people. And to have someone come out and invest in you like that is someone who is really caught in the act of thinking about others above himself.
Yeah.
So I appreciate Donnie for that.
That is cool. That is cool. Sandy, anybody caught in the act from you? Cool people doing cool things.
I have a list so long, you guys aren't on the air long enough. So I would have to say just about every person I've come in contact with deserves a big
That's
round
awesome.
of applause.
That's awesome. Maybe you're the cool person.
Right.
You
attract that from
That's
other
right.
people.
That's right. It's the law of attraction. And of course, our good friend Rich, publicity.
I'd like to mention Janet Domrace. Her husband Al seriously hurt his knee, and he's just a maniac the way he takes care of that. Alden's Kennels over there on Barnard Mill Road. He does everything. Guy blows me away. Janet's running the show over there. Plus, she's preparing for the I don't know which annual multi-state mixer, which is June 6th. Yep. They're going to be they're expecting up to 500 area business owners to come to this mixer.
Yeah,
multi-state.
It's just
crazy.
Yep. It is amazing. She is cool.
So it's 5 to 7 on June 6th at the address is 6810 Barnard Mill Road in Ringwood.
Right. So. And of course, Two Bald Guys and a Microphone is brought to you through the financial help of NIW, Northern Illinois Windows.
Do that to me all the time while I'm getting this up.
Yeah, keep going.
We are going to also mention that Two Bald Guys and a Microphone will be the MCs and live auctioneers, silent auctioneers for the Alden's Kennel event.
Hey.
So you knew that.
Hey, that's wonderful. That's good. Yes, I did. It's funny too. I was at a fundraiser, but Two Bald Guys.
McHenry, Illinois. More information on NIW services.
Well, Two Bald Guys were brought to you through the financial help of. Hold on. Wait. Okay.
Two Bald Guys and a Microphone is made possible by the financial support of NIW Services located in McHenry, Illinois. More information on NIW Services is available at area code 815-385-6646 or on the internet at www.niw.com. niwservice.com.
There you go. Beautiful.
Technology.
Hey, I got one more. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Isn't that
Yeah, you
interesting?
guys just mentioned that you've been asked to be the MC with the silent auction. How
Yeah.
does that happen?
Yeah.
Well, the silent part is the bidding part, but we have to remind people to go do that. So, but that is a good point.
Actually, we'll be using sign language and mime for that. It'll be wonderful.
Kent's going to paint his face all white and
That's
wear
right.
the black.
We don't understand. You keep pulling a rope. It's I don't understand.
There's a cow at the other end.
That's right. Yeah, so some good things. Next week, folks, you're going to want to tune in. We're going to be talking about now we found our purpose. Right? And dedication to a cause greater than ourselves. We're going to be talking about passion and how you live out your passion. And we're going to give you ideas on ways to kickstart the action towards that passion. And we are going to have just an incredible guest. We're not going to tell you right now. That's the teaser. Right?
Teaser.
You're going to want to follow us a little bit this week through Facebook so that you can. We'll be dropping hints and maybe do a little interview with the person.
Is this a subtle way of saying you don't know who our guest is?
That is
next
correct. That is absolutely right.
week? Transparency is always effective
That's
on the
right.
show.
That is it. And so that big build-up was just to let you know that.
Build me up, buttercup.
There it is. But yeah, we've got some great things, and of course we got Milk Days coming here this weekend, and two bald guys and a microphone will be in that. Whether it's two bald guys or one bald guy, we're gonna have a cow in the back of a truck, and we're gonna be throwing up cow pies and things. I don't know, right? Cowbells.
The cow will be throwing the cow pies.
That's right.
Fresh, right from the cow.
Just stand back in case she sneezes. That's all you gotta say. Yeah, it has been a true blessing to have Sandy Barcus with us. And Sandy, if people want to find out more about the Collier House, how do they do that?
You can go to our website, which is www.collierhouse.org. Or they could call me at 815-385-4881, and I'm more than willing to talk to them about Collier House.
That's it.
815-385-4881.
815-385-4881. Yeah, I know.
We'll work on that.
The jingle,
And our website is being refreshed by Rich from Rich Publicity and
very nice.
my nephew who created the website. They're working on refreshing it because apparently we're behind.
You know what?
I understand.
I am too because I thought it was a cool one.
Well, thanks.
I got
thought it
lost
was
in the
cool,
pictures.
too.
Absolutely. And it's just great, to have you here and to share a little bit of your story and share your son with us and his purpose and dedication to a cause much, much greater than himself and a cause so much greater than yourself as well. And what you do is just inspiring and uplifting. And
Thank you.
wow. If you don't know her, get to know her, folks. If you know a Gold Star family, get them in touch with Sandy.
Please, that would be wonderful.
It's needed more than you probably know. Also, if you know somebody whose addictions are so great, do the same thing because it made a big difference in Collier's life, and getting them out there will do the same for them, I'm sure. Which is amazing.
Just some information. There's over 6,000 Gold Star families just from the war on terrorism at this point. And we're trying to reach out to all of them. Not only are they nationwide, but they're also internationally.
Yep. And they're in your backyard. And you know what? Approaching them may be a difficult thing, or you may say, I don't want to reopen a wound, but it may be the best part of their healing is to reach out to them and say, you know what? I know of somebody who can help you through that, and that's through the Collier House.
Awesome.
So,
yeah.
Absolutely. Damon, what do you got coming on this week?
This week, just doing what I always do, loving on those students, helping them out, and just continuing to reach out to you guys. I know I got to do a better job of that.
Nah,
but I've been kind of
You're the
unplugging
man.
a little bit, getting
You have to,
something.
man.
Yeah, so
that's good.
You got a little rhyme for us this morning, short one?
I do not. Give me a second though. I'll
that's
think
it.
of something.
All right.
Jack and Jill went up the hill.
Fetch a pail of water, come down to Barcus ground.
Right, Rich. Anything you got on your docket this week, brother?
You know what? I'm looking forward to taking my brother and I are taking my dad out for dinner tonight. My dad's Korean War vet, served on the
Fantastic.
battleship Missouri during the Korean War.
Nice.
So
You're not all getting on your brother's cycle.
no.
No.
And on June 1st, we are speaking in, I know you have a closing that day, we're trying to work around it, but
Yep.
we're speaking out in Lake County to a women's group, bringing the power of networking to the forefront of a Lake County Women's Association. So.
Yep. So we'll be out there with our shirts unbuttoned, showing our manliness to these women, letting us know this is how men do it.
Face for radio, body for podcast.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, guys, it's that time. We can't thank you enough for tuning in, and we wish everybody a very safe and happy Memorial Day from two bald guys and a microphone.
Now get off the bench.
Get back in the game.
We are
Two bald guys and a microphone.
and we do approve this message. God bless. Travel safe.